This episode of the AFTN Soccer Show is brought to you by Recovery Family Law. Recovery Family Law is here to help you solve your family law problems. If you are going through a separation or divorce, they can provide you the confidence to make good decisions and support to enforce your rights. If you have a question about property, children or support, they have the answers. It's not too late or too early to get help. Email info@recoveryfamilylaw.ca or visit recoveryfamilylaw.ca and let their team get you excellent results.
Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. There's still time. The AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. Brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. I'm Michael McCall.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenheimer.
No, say your proper name. You are MLS Canada AFTN Soccer Show co-host Zachary Adam Meisenheimer.
Oh, give me a bloody break. Are you sure we're starting like this?
Yeah, I've sold your naming rights to Joey Saputo.
Yeah.
But the other folk wanted to chip in.
Joey's always liked me. Yeah. I can see him.
I'd like to say that the three owners paid me $1.5 million, but let's just say I'm rolling in cheese right now, and I'm a very happy boy.
Is that the actual number?
That's what the Athletics reported, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We will be covering that, actually, in part 4, but I just wanted to get your new official name out, ready to go. It was initially going to be Canadian Soccer Business AFTN Soccer Show co-host Zachary Adam Meisenheimer, but the MLS guys came in with bigger money.
Oh my goodness, Michael, you're ridiculous.
Yes, that will be one of the many things we're talking about. We're going to be talking Whitecaps, MLS, Canadian Championship, Canadian Premier League, Canadian men's national team coach, little sprinkling of League One BC thrown in, some fun, games, banter, music, everything that you've got used to in the previous 614 episodes of the show. Before we get into any of that, though, how has your week been?
Oh, man. A very full and busy week. Very, very full.
So a 5-hour podcast recording at the end of it is just what you're looking forward to.
It's perfect. Well, this is the start of it. I know we see this differently still, but this is the start of my week. This is the
end of the week, yes.
This is Sunday, the first day.
Monday. Well, we won't go through all this again.
Long-time listeners know people
how wrong Zach is in this, yes. I mean, I've done another day of double match recording for League One BC and then podcasting at night, and not as many goals as previous games. I only had 7 to call today, so I've got a better voice now for this podcast recording, so that's good. Do you want to know how old I felt today, Zach? Now, I feel old at the best of times when I'm commentating on the Whitecaps games, especially the girls who are mostly 16, 17 and 18-year-old. The Whitecaps girls were 4-0 up at half-time, and what they've been doing this season is they've been giving the keepers a half each, But one of the regular keepers was away for the weekend, so that they had one of the younger keepers come in for the second half. 14 years old.
Oh, wow.
I'm 56 this year. She is a quarter of my age. Absolute insane. And she's taller than me. Well, she looked it from a distance. She looked quite tall. I don't know how tall she was, but she looked like she was probably taller than me. I'm 5'8". That's a normal height.
Are you 5'8"?
I'm 5'8" and a half. Yeah. Always had that half inch. That's what I say to Caitlin.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
but yeah, 14 years old. It's like crazy. And the girls won 5-0. Check out the goals on the League One BC YouTube channel or on Twitter. I've retweeted them on the AFTN Canada account. A banger in there for the second. Noelle Sather, her second banger of the year. And this one, even better than the first. And a cheeky little back heel for one of the goals as well. But the girls are flying just now. The boys are flying. They're top of League One BC. They have played 2 more games, though, than TSS, and they only have a 1-point lead. So the Canadian Championship's looking good again for the Rovers, lads. But we've not to get carried away. That's the key message.
Yeah, that is quite key. But, Michael, no one scores bangers like Vasco Ferrari. I know we'll get to that later, but...
Yeah, I have some thoughts on all the stuff that's been said about Olympicos. And if anyone hasn't seen that, that is something else we'll be talking about in part 4. But let us get into some before we get into the Whitecaps chat, I want to talk about some stuff that's been happening this weekend, because it's the business end of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you and me enjoyed, albeit very far apart, the A-League semi-final on Friday night into Saturday morning. We'll talk about that, though, in part 4 as well, because I've got a song around that. But it is the business end of the season for many leagues. Now, a couple of things I want to talk to you about. You might not have seen this, but did you see who did the trophy presentation for Celtic at the weekend for their 3rd straight championship?
No, but I see you wrote in the show notes.
Yeah, Santa Claus came out, crossed himself.
Oh my!
With the trophy.
Wow.
I'm sure now Rangers fans will be boycotting Santa's grotto this year. But there's a reason that he did that. Santa was brought out in December at a Celtic home match, and Celtic were losing at half-time to Hearts, and the Celtic fans booed Santa.
Oh, wow.
So Rangers responded by bringing Santa along to one of their games where he got cheered. But now Celtic's brought him back and he's crossed himself with the trophy, so I don't think he'll be appearing at Ibrox very soon.
Can we briefly just touch on there? I know we texted about this also as well this week, but kudos to our good friend Gordon Force and his Heartside.
Yes.
Oncoming the top of the rest of the Scottish teams outside. Yeah.
I, like as you said, there should be a trophy for that, because that is a good achievement. And for the second half of the season, at least going into the last 2 rounds of games, Hearts had the best record.
Oh, yeah.
For the second half of the season, which is phenomenal as well, because Celtic and Rangers were just dropping points left, right and centre.
So yeah, Gordon is assistant coach there at Hearts, and if you might, I know people have been following, but his son is also has broken into the youth Scottish teams, and I think he's putting in the performances that, I mean, if you're friends with them and you follow them on social media, you've seen all the hard work he's put in over the years in their backyard and stuff. Yeah. And if you met BC Place all the time, they were always kicking. He's always kicking a ball with Milo. Just really, really happy for him.
Yeah, he's been a really good breakthrough. I was chatting to Gordon end of last year, started this year, and he said, the next time you're over, let me know, we'll get you into hospitality at Hearts. You can go for a drink with the management team afterwards. So when I was over, for the 2 weeks that I was over, they were away from home. Yeah. So I never got a chance to do that. Hopefully next time I go over, which at least next time I go over is going to be for happier things. So I mean, there's that. Elsewhere in Scotland has introduced a pyramid system. And under the pyramid system now, the bottom team in the bottom tier plays the winner of the Highland League and Lowland League playoff, except there wasn't a playoff this year. As I talked about this in an earlier podcast, I think I had to cut all this out to get us under the 3 hours. So folk don't know about my 5-minute nonsense that you were like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes, I remember this now. I
But
don't remember the
basically,
content, but I remember you going on.
East Kilbride played Stranraer in a 2-legged playoff to see if Stranraer would get relegated from the Football League. Now, for those that don't know Scottish geography, Stranraer is closer to Belfast than it is to Glasgow.
Wow.
And it's closer to Northern Ireland than most other bits of Scotland. They're the third oldest club in Scotland, formed in 1870. And if they went out of the league, that was going to be the start of a demise, a slippery slope. And they were taking on the money men from East Kilbride. They're backed heavily by big investors. They've only existed since 2010. East Kilbride as a town's only existed since 1947. My town, Glenrothes, is another new town from 1948. But everyone was wanting Stranraer to win. I kind of wanted East Kilbride to win just because it's a hellish trip from Fife down to Stranraer. But yeah, Stranraer won. And they are staying in the league. And it reminded me, I've told this story in the show before, but I want to tell it again because one of my all-time favourite away days, where a busload of East Fife fans went to Stranraer and we spent the 90 minutes abusing centre-back Dougie McCracken, who played for us. He was our centre-back and we didn't like him. So we brought down bales of hay and we threw hay at him as he ran by. We all went in to the greengrocers and bought 2 carrots, which really confused the woman behind the counter as to why we were all buying 2 carrots. And then we would break the carrots up and throw them at him as he ran by.
Wow.
We then scattered the hay all over the bus on the way home and were banned for life from using that bus company ever again.
Oh, I thought you said you would spread the hay and then you didn't use the
We made
loo,
hay.
you just used hay.
Yeah. So happy days, happy memories of Stranraer. Last thing I want to mention about something that hasn't happened yet, the Champions League final. Sorry to bring this up, Zach.
No.
Dortmund, Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Listening to my favourite soccer podcast outside our own, the famous Sloping Pitch, they mentioned something this week that I hadn't seen. And
You mean if Dortmund wins, we get another spot?
No.
Oh.
Do you know about the money aspect of this? If Dortmund win the Champions League, they get from UEFA 20 million euros.
Okay.
If Real Madrid win the Champions League, Dortmund get 25 million for the Jude Bellingham clause in its contract. So if they lose, they get 5 million euros more.
Yeah, but here's the deal. That's not an issue at all. The value of winning the trophy and the 20 million that goes with it is more important to the club.
That's what I would have thought
in the long run. And Terzic, who's a Dortmund terror supporter, will want to win it and have his player motivated. The money man at the club, like Yatska or whatever his name is, who's like I think ending his time at the end of this calendar year or next year or whatever. I think that'll soften the sleep on their pillows if they lose the extra 5 million. But
I guess it's a little sweetener. It's like it's a win-win for them no matter what happens.
Again, I would not use that language, but
I mean, financially, yeah. I mean, obviously they want to win it and the history that means for them. And I think everyone is probably, if you're not a Real Madrid fan, most neutrals are going to be cheering on Dortmund here.
I hope so. But yeah, no, I mean, they've won it once in 1997, right? They really would like to win it again because that's a long time ago.
I actually forgot they'd won it back then.
Yeah.
That was when I wasn't really paying much attention because I didn't like the whole Champions League.
It was against Juventus at the Olympiastadion in Munich. And that was the game where I think Karl-Heinz Riedle got 2 headers, like from corners or whatever. And I think Del Piero maybe got one back on a back heel or something. And then Lars Rinken, who is now like in the hierarchy of the club, came on as a substitute. And with his first touch, Michael, he chipped Angelo Peruzzi from like 40 yards or something. If you've never seen that goal, you don't remember that goal, you should look it up. It's a beauty.
I really thought the final was coming up this weekend, and I've just checked, so it's not until
No,
June 1st.
June 1st, yeah.
Wow, that seems very close to the Euros
Which,
starting.
as we're at this moment while we're recording this, Michael, it is the 12-year anniversary of the last time I attended a
Oh, I thought
Champions League
I
final.
thought you were going to say it's May 19th. The time we finish it, it's going to be closer to June 1st.
No, but May 19th, 2012 was the last time I was at a Champions League final.
Oh,
That nightmare of a game against Chelsea at the Allianz Arena.
Chelsea, 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 Chelsea.
They were singing a more annoying song that it came up in my memories on social
Blue
media.
is the colour.
Yeah.
I'm holding out going to a Champions League final till East Fife get there, so may have a long wait. They may have to dig me up from my cryogenically frozen body to get along to that one. I will freeze myself if that is a prospect to go and watch East Fife in a Champions League final.
The good
We've
news
got
is
Dick Campbell now, so there's every chance.
the good news for me was I was having some issues with trying to apply for tickets through my Bayern membership, and it got all cleared up. So I'll be applying for next year's final in Munich. I don't know when I don't know when I find out about that, but
I don't think East Fife will be in that one.
I don't think so either.
Unless Scotland's been somehow awarded 58 spots and we fall into that. I don't know. We'll see. But enough of talking about the nonsense leagues around the world. Let's get to the main league, the one featuring the GOAT, the real Messi, Ryan Gauld, who got himself back on the score sheet this weekend. 2 games to talk about this week. We'll talk about them both in this part. The ins and outs of them. Not too much details. A lot of talking points, though, coming out of it. And then we'll kind of look in the next part more about the performance, some concerns, and looking ahead to the circus is coming to town. But yes, let's start off with the midweek match. Whitecaps went to Caitlin's favourite stadium in MLS, and a midweek encounter that saw the Whitecaps the better team in the early going here. Had a couple of chances, should have taken the lead, fell behind to what some feel was a controversial penalty stroke sending off decision, which again we'll come to. And then in the second half, actually played really well. Colorado really could have added a second, a third, and a fourth. They didn't have their shooting boots on, and the Whitecaps almost had a chance to snatch a point as well.
Yeah, they really rued those first half. You know, they had a couple of shots from distance, and one chance coming in on the left side, which
Levante Johnson, Pedro Vita, a couple of chances apiece. Levante Johnson looked quite lively and was really causing some issues.
Yeah,
Pedro Vita, I think, had one of his best halves of the year. Mm-hmm. And all that was the positives, and everything was going so well until the closing minutes of the half.
Mm-hmm.
And Colorado had a chance. And when you first saw it, it looked like Bjorn and Utvik had produced what I was writing down. Well, that's probably going to win AFTN's Tackle of the Year for 2024. But then you saw the replay. Mm-hmm. And right away, I was like, oh, well, that's a penalty. And I was like, well, he's getting sent off for that. And that's exactly what happened. But the sending off is what has caused a lot of consternation amongst Whitecaps fans. Now, I did the post-game radio and I talked about it on that. And it's been explained on social media, and a lot of people understand what it is now. It's all under Rule 12. And the wording of it, I can see why folk are confused if they've read the rule. Because the start of the rule, when it comes to like denying of a goal-scoring opportunity, dogso. What I learned from doing my East 5 podcast, dogso is not a phrase that's used in the UK. I was talking about dogso and they had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah, it's a very MLS American.
Yeah, I quite like it. I like my acronyms. AFTN. We'll have to get a snappy one for MLS, Canada, Zachary Adam Meisenheimer.
Please stop.
But what Rule 12 says is, where a player commits an offence against an opponent within their own penalty area, which denies an opponent an obvious goal-scoring opportunity, and the referee awards a penalty kick, the offender is cautioned if the offence was an attempt to play the ball or a challenge for the ball. In all other circumstances, holding, pulling, pushing, the offending player must be sent off. So folk have read that and think, well, that's the double jeopardy rule. So he's given away a penalty, he's not going to get sent off for the handball. But the key thing is the paragraph underneath that, because that applies to everything that isn't a handball. So where a player denies the opposing team a goal or an obvious goal-scoring opportunity by a handball offence, the player is sent off wherever the offence occurs, except a goalkeeper in the penalty area. So it's clear-ish that if you handle in the box, it's not necessarily a sending off, it's also not necessarily a penalty, as we'll come to when we speak about the Seattle game. But when it's a handball in the box, it's not automatically a sending off. Now, when I was on the radio on Saturday, because I did both the post-game shows this week, I didn't fully explain what I was meaning, and someone picked me up about that, and I know a handball in the box isn't an automatic sending off. It was something they were looking at introducing, but it hasn't come into law. So, yeah, a normal handball in the box, not a sending off, it's a yellow card. But if you've denied the ball going in, then it is a sending off. Now, some folk were saying, well, how does he know that was going to go in the back of the net? You see the angle from behind the goal, and that ball is going in the back of the net.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. I mean, he makes the lunge or whatever, and it's, I don't know. Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, oh, yeah, he's going to be sent off. And then, like you, I was surprised at how many people were up in arms about it and didn't quite have the grasping of the rule, but I guess they do now.
Yeah, although some of them still don't agree with it. Someone on Twitter, when I was explaining that, said, what, so every handball that stops a goal is a sending off? Like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yes.
That's the thing. It doesn't matter if people disagree with it. That's part of the laws of the game, right?
Yeah.
That's why a lot of these penalties that we've seen in these last number of years, Michael, when you and I are watching or talking about it or whatever, it's just like, it's not what we think, or they've tried to take out the interpretation of the referee and the referee's assistants and the video officials, so that it's just if it's the hand in the box, it's a penalty, right? For the most part, anyways.
The interesting thing, though, later that night, about an hour later, Bruno Wilson got sent off for stopping the ball on the line with his arm for San Jose against Portland. And I was like, exactly the same thing, except San Jose appealed that red card and it got rescinded. That just blew my mind.
Are you joking?
No, it got rescinded.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Did the Whitecaps appeal Udvix then?
I don't know. I mean, it wasn't mentioned, because if you lose, you only have a certain number of appeals in a season. Okay, and if you lose that appeal, which they shouldn't win, because he was rightly sent off.
They shouldn't challenge it then, because they lose. I don't understand. That's a counterintuitive decision from MLS that if I was an opponent, especially their next opponent, I would definitely be asking some questions about.
It was. I'm bringing it up here. So it was the independent review panel, and it says they approved San Jose's appeal of Bruno Wilson's red card.
That's ridiculous, Mike.
Yeah. They unanimously rescinded it, and the accompanying fine for the red card offence as well. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Now, there's a couple of things to this. Well, clubs are allowed 2 unsuccessful appeals per season. So, I mean, for me, the Whitecaps one would definitely have been turned down. The thing, aside from the fact that I think it's absolutely crazy that it got rescinded, that was a key turning point of the game, because it gave Portland a penalty. They scored and they brought the game back to 2-1. But then San Jose were down to 10 men for the remaining minutes, and then Portland just overran them, and they scored then in the 80th, and then 2 goals in stoppage time to come away with a 4-2 win.
Which they really need.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, at that point, Portland were bottom of the... This is how crazy the West is. And we'll come to this a little bit in the next part. But ahead of that penalty, San Jose were winning 2-0. Portland were bottom of the West. And I thought Neville was getting sacked. At one point on Saturday, Portland were in the playoff places. It's just crazy. But if you've rescinded that red card, so you're saying, well, that was the wrong decision. He shouldn't have been sent off. But because he was sent off, it absolutely screwed San Jose over, and they lost 3 points. So if you're saying that was that bad an error, that's a really costly error.
Yeah.
Now, the thing with it, it doesn't say why they've rescinded it. So maybe they're feeling it wasn't a card. Now, to me, his arm was tucked in, and it hit his arm and then his chest. So maybe they're even thinking it wasn't even a penalty and it wasn't a red card to begin with. That
can be the only thing, but it doesn't
has
say
to be
that,
the
right?
only thing. No, it doesn't. So I mean, that has to be the only reason.
Oh, okay, yeah, that would make sense.
But I mean, in this one, it was the right decision, and it was just so gutting because at this point, Vancouver were so much in the game. The Rapids, they'd had a couple of attacking threats. They didn't look that dangerous, and I fancied the Whitecaps to push on in the second half and get the win. It took a couple of minutes to sort everything out. Navarro stepped up, sent Takaoka the wrong way. Colorado had the lead. And they had a couple of chances at the start of the second half that they didn't take, as I say. But then the Whitecaps, and this was just like, just infuriating, because Brian White did so well to get onto a long ball forward. Zach Steffen had come off his line. White saw that, went for the lob, but hit it way too high and it flew over. And you've got to, if you're going for the lob, you've got to get that on target. And I know it's easy for me to sit here and say that, but you're a striker, that's your job to do that. Also, why go for the lobs? Steffen's off his line. You could easily knock that past him, and either he commits a foul and brings you down and gets sent off, but you've got a better chance of getting the ball in the back of the net by trying to round the keeper than going for the lob. And this is something that's annoyed me with Brian White this week, because it also happened in the Seattle game. The ball comes in and he goes for a scissor kick.
Yeah.
Which was the harder option.
Or was it a bicycle?
Well, at first I thought bicycle, but it was more sideways, so I think it was probably more scissor than over his head.
Yeah, I remember you texting me at the moment being like, what is he doing?
It's like, chest it down or something. Just, why go for that? It would be a dramatic equaliser. It would look stunning. It'd be right up there for goals of the season from a Whitecaps perspective. But go for the easier option.
Yeah.
Especially when you haven't been firing on all cylinders.
When the lob doesn't come off, you look a knob.
Yes, sadly that was the case, and then the Rapids ran out winners, and it felt tough. I genuinely felt the Whitecaps could and should have got something from this game. So they went away with nothing. I would have thought a point, but probably 3 was realistic from this game, the way that things had been going. But then we fast forward 3 days to the Seattle game, and the Whitecaps did come away with something that I feel they deserved absolutely nothing off from this one. Now,
you're not wrong.
No, but I jumped on the post-game show, and they put you in just as they're talking. So Asa and Cal Valentine are chatting, and Cal Valentine was saying, Whitecaps deserve to get something from this game, and they totally deserve to get a point. And then Asa cuts to me and saying, do you agree with that? I don't like to disagree with Cal Valentine, but I had to.
Yeah.
I was like, in no way, shape or form did the Whitecaps deserve a point out of that.
And what did Carl say?
Well, we talked about it. He still feels they did. Vanny, kinda. You went on the post-game call because I couldn't go on it because I was doing the radio. But the argument is that they did well to keep Seattle at bay, and they played a good defensive game, and they did. Seattle offered nothing. Seattle looked pretty bad. But the problem is, it's fine to say, yeah, we did well because we stifled Seattle in that second half. If it's 0-0,
yeah, if it's
but you're chasing the game and you're doing nothing to get yourself back in level terms.
It was, I don't want to say the first time this year, but it was one of the times this year, Michael, where, and I was texting you about this, like, I was just like, what are they trying to do here?
I genuinely didn't know what the game plan was in that second half.
It looked like if they didn't win the ball back and have the opportunity to counter with a numerical advantage, there was zero urgency.
Yep.
There was like, okay, let's just control it. Let's keep some possession for a little bit. And it was very slow ball movement, very slow movement around the pitch. And it wasn't, there was like no penetration. There was no dynamic runs. And it was hard to watch almost. When they won the ball and they did have a numerical advantage, they showed urgency. They showed a little bit of pace. I know, I forget who it was Darnell was talking about when I made this comment about another game, but the Whitecaps do need pace. Mm-hmm. Like they could use some more pace, ideally wide, I think, but almost anywhere on the pitch I think would help.
Yeah, but it's not just pace they need, because like Levante brings pace, Fafa brings pace, but you need to have more than pace.
No,
you need some creativity with it.
But I think it's debatable that they're not like breakout pace. You know what I mean? Like Fafa is like quick, but I don't like Fafa. I don't think it's not the kind of pace I'm thinking about. Anyway.
So are you thinking like a route one long ball over the top, and then the guy with pace just leaves the defenders in his wake, in on goal? That kind of pace?
Yeah, maybe. Like in the history of the Whitecaps, someone like Scooter when he was fast, or Darren Maddox or whatever, someone who can run past the defender, get off the shoulder of the defender, just run past them onto a through ball, whether that's in the air or not. A nice diagonal ball from a Ryan Gauld or whatever. But there's no one, like, I don't think, even though he is quick and he is, I think in shorter bursts is quite fast. I don't think teams are worried about Fafa getting in behind them. You know what I mean?
They should be, because he's looked the most dangerous player at points this season. I think right now they're not worried about Levante getting in behind them.
But Levante's also like not on the pitch until the last 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, game. But he did start in Colorado, and he caused issues, and he did have a goal-bound shot that was deflected wide in the first half.
When he was almost like in alone.
Yeah,
that was you. But you need more of that. Like, yeah.
But a lot of that then comes with getting more time, and that's the tough thing for a guy like Levante, who I'm very high on. And as I said last week, I don't know that he's pushed on to the way that I wanted him to. But
like, for example,
we'll talk in the next part about exactly like the need for pace and things that are badly missing from this squad right now.
A fully fit Sam Adekugbe can provide pace.
Yes. Ali Ahmed.
Ali Ahmed, I think, again, he's more like quick as opposed to like blinding pace. But again, people might disagree with that. But
I mean, the Seattle game, the first half, because I've got I jot down my notes before I do the match recap, and the first half I've only written two things down for it.
The goal, and
one was the goal, and one was a couple of minutes later when Fry pulled off a save from a white header from a Gauld corner.
Yeah.
But 9 minutes in, Seattle take the lead. And I mean, when he put them ahead, it felt like a tough night. Because coming into this game, and we kind of spoke about this in the last show, 4 weeks ago, Whitecaps went down there, wiped the floor with them. Yes, there was sending offs and everything like that. Confidence was high. Seattle's was rock bottom. Since then, the Whitecaps haven't won an MLS match. 7 points Seattle had taken in that time. They were still struggling a little bit, but they turned a little bit of a corner and had a lot more confidence about them. So this felt like two very different teams heading into this game. And when they went ahead 9 minutes in, I was like, oh, this is going to be like a 3-0 now to Seattle, just the way it was going. And like credit to the Whitecaps that they
Yes.
didn't let it
Yep.
get out of hand.
For real.
But this goal, let's talk about that first of all. So the ball comes in. Takaoka did well to turn away quite a fierce Obed Vargas strike from just a few yards out in front of goal. And the ball had come through to Vargas when Raposo had kind of blocked a João Paulo shot. And this kind of summed up this goal. There was deflections that just fell favourably for Seattle. So that one fell to Vargas. Takaoka, full-length diving save to turn it away. Ball straight to rebound. The rebound falls straight to Morris, who tucks it away. Not from the easiest of angles, but puts it towards the back post. Laborda just can't get to it and put it out. And the Sounders are 1-0 up. Now, I don't think it was the best defending from the Whitecaps. I'm maybe a little bit slow to react. Caldwell again on the TSS commentary. I mentioned last week he seems to really have it in for Takaoka. Felt Takaoka should have done better and put it in a better position. I don't know what else he could have done with that.
Yeah. Caldwell's on with you on the TSS calls now? You said Caldwell on the TSS call.
Oh, TSS. A little bit obsessed with TSS. Home opener on Friday. Great occasion. Me and him on the TSS calls. That would be fun banter.
Brilliant.
But yeah, I don't think Takaoka could have done much more with that.
No one would go to the matches. They just listen to the double Scott.
No one would be listening to that. I mean, he was full strength. I mean, what are you expecting him to do there? It was at point blank range.
Yeah. I don't think you can blame Takaoka for the goal. Yeah.
The defenders, Laborda felt like he was caught in two minds as to how to react when the ball had come out and then just couldn't get back to clear it away. But Morris took it well.
Yeah.
It kind of sums up how bad the season Seattle's had, that was only his second goal of the year.
Yeah, for sure.
But he started last year on fire.
There was other plays later in the game where he showed like he wasn't quite as pacey as he used to be.
Yeah. I think that last injury he seems to have lost a bit of a step after that. But White's header from the gold corner was the best chance the Whitecaps had to get back in level terms right away. Good save by Fry. Again, it was a decent enough header, but maybe not dangerous enough.
And then there was a second header, but it was a Laborda or whatever that was not as dangerous.
Yeah. But I mean, the game, it fell into a lull after that. It was quite flat. It was pretty boring. I'd turned to Caitlin at one point and I'd said, I'm so glad I didn't end up going down for this. Because my passport arrived.
Oh, it did?
I finally got my Canadian passport. It arrived on Wednesday.
Congratulations.
When I was out. So I only picked it up on Saturday. But I could have gone, but I had decided not to by that point. And at that stage, I was like, the rain came on. The game was boring and flat. I was like, this was a very good decision not to make the trip down. Full credit, though, to the 3 busloads of fans that did make the trip down. That was good. But they had a happy trip up the I-5 in the end, and it certainly didn't look that way. Now, one thing, going back to the Colorado game that I'll say, I thought the Whitecaps played very well with 10 men against Colorado.
Yeah.
They bent a little bit, but they didn't break, and they held on, and 1-0 defeat with 10 men, not the end of the world in Colorado. 11v11 here, and it was like, they just, as you said, there was no urgency. There was just, I struggled to know what they were meant to be playing. Was it to try and get it to the last 10 minutes? And then turn it up a little bit, because they did raise the pace a little bit in the last 10 minutes. But then once they got back on level terms, a complaint I would have as well is they had a slow build-ups as they tried to find maybe a second in stoppage time. They were just knocking the ball about. And I was screaming at my TV, just play it into the bloody box. Not my exact words.
Yeah, that was the secondary thing, though. I forgot to mention this earlier when we were talking about this. It was this, the primary goal looked to counter when there was a numerical advantage. And the second was this slow, keep possession, and then just try and play in crosses from wide positions. But the quality of crosses weren't great, and like no one was getting on the end of them, and Seattle was defending them well, and it felt like a unbalanced, almost unwise strategic approach that needed altering, which
Yeah,
I don't know that it really got it in the second half.
when I looked at the post-game stats, the crazy thing for me was in shots on goal,
Yes. Yeah.
5-2 in the Whitecaps' favour. And
Yeah.
I'm like, 5? It was 5?
Yeah, but remember, Seattle also at the very end hit the post too, right?
Yes, yeah, that's true. Let's rewind. 73rd minute, Berhalter had a long-range effort that
Right.
kind of came from nowhere, and you're like, oh, wow, they are still alive and awake in this game. But then minutes later, sorry, what were you going to say?
Berhalter coming on to replace Kubas, who
Oh, yeah, actually, we should talk about that. So when it happened, we were both like, what the hell is this substitution?
you were like, what is going on here?
Like, are they resting him in for Tuesday? What is going on here?
Yeah, and it is a bit of an ankle knock, but they weren't resting for Tuesday because, as Vanny revealed on the post game, the plan all along was for him is for Kubas not to start on Tuesday. Whether or not he's involved, that's a different question.
That's sensible.
But because Vanny wants him to play against Inter Miami, he knows how significant it is for him as a Paraguayan to be able to match up against Leo in a.
I want him to take
match.
Messi out within the first 5 minutes with a crunching challenge. That is my dream for Saturday.
Well, I don't think he's quite a Lucas McNaughton, but
Kubas can do it in a good way.
Yeah, it's true.
The first one won't be a yellow, second one will be. You don't have to watch himself. But he's had that shot. Then we've got the first big talking point. So ball comes in, 10 minutes to go. Morris rises, meets it well. His header's goal bound. I'm not saying it was going in. So for a handball in the box, probably wouldn't have been a red card here for Javane, because I don't think it denied a goal scoring opportunity because Takaoka was behind him. But his arms are out, as I'm demonstrating just now, which is good for the podcast listeners, at a bent angle. And the ball hits off his elbow, and he's like patted on the back for a good stop. You see the replay, and you're like, oh, yeah, this is a penalty.
Oh, yeah.
For me, 100% penalty.
Yeah.
And Seattle were robbed here.
And not from it has nothing to do with me, in my opinion. It's to me objective by the laws of the game that's a penalty. Now, as we were talking about it, as they were showing different replays and different angles or whatever, I guess the two things. One is the whole trying to tuck having the one arm or the arm sort of. It still leaves your chicken wing. It's the chicken wing.
Chicken wing, yeah, that's the best way to describe
he chicken winged it. But so I think that having the hand tucked in maybe helps save him. But the one angle, I remember being like, oh yeah, it sort of looks like he's trying to pull away. But then you look at the other angle and you're like, oh yeah, no, it's sticking out there. And if Steve was here, he might say, well, if one angle looks like he's tucking in, if the other angle looks like he's sticking out, then it's not clear and obvious, which is debatable. But to me, I think by the laws of the game, it should be a penalty. And I thought at the time, oh, you thought, okay, Seattle's winning 1-0. This isn't given as a penalty. It's unlikely that this is going to factor into the how the game's the result of the game, right? And so I thought, okay, I think they got this wrong by the rules, but okay, whatever. It's possibly not a big deal here.
Yeah. I mean, the rules say, I'll just read a little bit of it here. So if you're moving your hand or arm towards the ball, so he wasn't doing that. If they touch the ball with their hand or arm to make their body unnaturally bigger. So that is the chicken wing
makes it bigger.
Unless, now, this is what I would do on Monday if I was the Whitecaps. I would just film Javane Brown walking in to the Whitecaps training centre with both his arms out like chickens and just going, this is how I walk. So it wasn't in an unnatural position, but you don't go around with your arm out like that. So whether you're moving towards it or not, it isn't in a natural position to me.
Well, it makes your body bigger. That's
Yeah.
the thing, right?
And like, even if you're jumping, like, how many folk jump with their arms out like that? I think it was a penalty. I think Seattle were robbed. Do I care? No. The video review gods giveth,
And they take
the video review gods taketh away. Although in the Whitecaps case, they didn't giveth, and then they did give, because like the seconds are turning down. By this point, like, Caitlin's tired. She's had a long day. She's going up to bed. And I can picture this. She had put 2 foot on the stairs, and I was like, we've got a penalty right away. Because as soon as Nuhu went in with his arm up like that, it's, what are you doing flying in like that? There could have been no complaints whatsoever.
Yeah, when you're lunging forward like that, the one thing I'm sure some Seattle people might look at with the Nuhu situation, and as I said to you, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Yes.
Is that he is lunging forward and his hand is high, but it does also appear that he's trying to bring it in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you've gone down.
Yeah,
You've gone towards the ball with your arm up. I know you're not defending it, but it's like there's no
I'm not saying it
argument
shouldn't
there.
be a penalty.
It was 2 penalties. One was given, one wasn't. That's the tail of this game. But up steps Ryan Gauld, brilliantly dispatches it, and I loved the celebration, because he was like, "Oh, we've got out of jail here," basically, and just ran to the Seattle fans, and the little cheeky grin on his face. That needs to be turned into a meme or some kind of gif or something, because that was nice. And from nowhere, the Caps had a point. Seattle with their 10 men. Well, we should also say the 10 men knew who got a yellow for it, which is why he got the red card. So it wasn't a clear red, because it didn't deny a goal scoring opportunity. It was just a handball in the box. But it was 2 yellows in a minute for Nuhu.
Yeah. Again, couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's not even the sounder thing. I don't enjoy Nuhu.
No, I don't either.
I've seen him play for his national team. I don't enjoy him. I don't know. Sounders,
though, nearly grabbed all 3 points. Pedro de la Vega, who I've got to say, when he came on as a sub in the second half, I was very impressed by him. He added some spark to that Sounders attack, and he's certainly somebody that might pull the Sounders out of the current rut that they're in.
You feel like he needed a headband or something, or like a hair elastic. I feel like his hair was getting in his way of his vision.
It was just lovely to see.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I don't like about watching all the League One games. These guys have so much hair. Need more bald guys in League One BC.
Yeah, does it make you feel bad about your follicle situation?
Yeah, the age with 14-year-olds in goal. It's not happy going sometimes. I just come home depressed and just eat a bunch of junk food. Oh no, wait, that's every night I do that.
Oh my God.
But yeah, De La Vega nearly grabbed the points. Takaoka, lucky lad there, because he was caught out. He was, I don't know if he was just thinking about, I wonder if I'll maybe get some nice donuts on the way home, maybe stop off at some Carl's Jr. or something. But he took his eye off the ball completely, and it went to his left and off the near post.
Yeah.
That would have been a fantastic goal. I would have been absolutely gutted and thrown things at the TV. And yeah.
Takaoka would have smiled.
At least he didn't when the first goal went in.
It's true, he did not.
I actually thought that. I was like, oh, he's not smiling. Maybe he's listening to this podcast. How much of it he'll make out with my accent, I don't know. But it actually was quite good when I spoke to him before. But that was it. 1-1. The Whitecaps take 1 point from their 3-game road trip. Was that good enough? Well, we'll look at that in the next part, as well as rounding up the MLS action and look ahead to the Messi circus that is coming to town. And we'll be back with that after this.
Hi, I'm Ryan Gauld, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
I'm the dandy highwayman of your two-scared convention. I spend my cash on looking fresh and
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. Brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. For all your family legal needs, check out Recovery Family Law, based out of Surrey, and they'll get you sorted. Great song to kick off this part. Played it before in the song. Former Artist of the Month, Adam and the Ants, from 1981. The lead single from their third album, Prince Charming, Prince Charming. That was Stand and Deliver, oh, your money or your life. Huh. A song about dandy highwaymen and highway robbery, because that is what the Whitecaps had down in Seattle, and they headed up the highway back to Vancouver with a solitary point. Diddley Qua Qua is what I'm calling this podcast episode. Those that know will know. Which is basically old people like myself that grew up in the UK in the 80s. That is a great song by Adam and the Ants, a fantastic video. Check it out if you've never seen it. But we're going to continue talking Whitecaps in this part because, yes, 1 point taken from their 3 road games. LAFC, big fat 0. Colorado, big fat 0. Seattle, very fortunate 1. Now, when I was doing the post-game show with Asa and Dolly on Wednesday, they asked the question, what was my expectations going into this 3-game road trip? And having taken no points from the first 2 games, how big was the Seattle game? And I'll be honest, I went into this thinking, they'll get 4 points. I thought a draw in Seattle, a win in Colorado, did not expect them to get anything down at LAFC. Anything there was going to be a bonus. So at the end of the Colorado game, you're like, no points. And it kind of made the Seattle game for me feel a little bit like a must win, just because of how tight the West was right now.
Yeah.
Because if Seattle had come away with that win, the Whitecaps are in 7th, which you still are, but Seattle would have been 2 points behind them in 9th.
Yeah. I think you're right. 4 points going into the road trip seemed reasonable.
Especially knowing the home game that was coming up next.
Yeah, with the league leaders.
Yeah.
Plus a cup match in the middle.
Yeah.
I agree with you that it's interesting to just see the fortunes changing on the road, because they've had some really good road results this season. Not quite where they would have hoped like
to have been, but 11v11 v Colorado, and they probably would have got something from that, but that wasn't how it played out, and that is why you play football matches. It's not all XGs and stats and all that nonsense. It's what actually happens on the pitch that shapes things. So, 1 point feels disappointing.
Yeah.
And the fact that the Whitecaps at 1 point were battling for first in the West. They dropped to 7th with that defeat on Wednesday. And if results had gone badly for them, they could have been 9th from the end of this weekend. But at least they're 7th.
It is crazy how tight it is.
And a phrase I love to use, every point is a prisoner. And that is exactly how it is in the Western Conference right now. It is just absolutely crazy how things have been playing out there. How concerned, or what concerns do you have for the Whitecaps as things currently stand, knowing that barring any free agents, maybe that there's not going to be any additions coming to the summer window? Do they have to add pieces now in the summer? Is that no longer a case of we'll see how it goes? It's a case of no, we have to, and what do they need to add?
Well, we've talked about this before, Michael, and I think, like, just from an objective point of view, not thinking about the financial realities or any of past history or whatever, I think the Whitecaps absolutely do need to bolster their squad in the summer. They do need to take advantage of some of the mechanisms, DP or young DP,
Well, I mean, if the rumours are to be believed, there's going to be a fourth spot given in the summer, so they would have two DP spots if they wanted to use them, or they can go down the under 22 initiative rule.
That's what I meant, the under 22 initiative. But no, they absolutely need to, because even in this spell right now, the injuries have created a bigger gap in the depth than potentially what you would say was already there, and they've been shown lacking, and so they do need to really strengthen. I mean, it also for some people too, I think it has also to do with the perception of or valuation of some significant players, right? Like, I think some people feel the team is crying out for a different type of center forward.
Yeah.
Whether it's complementary or a different option, right? Brian White's obviously been an incredible servant of the club and has done well and broken records. And I'm not saying they need to get rid of him, but with Krylak being injured and not being able to perform anywhere near his former glories, they need another option up top for sure. With Sam being out, I think they need not Richie Larea, but they do need a fullback that can play potentially both sides, who has pace, who can help open things up for them.
Yeah, I mean, Sam is a big blow, for sure. And Ryan Raposo has qualities, but he's not as good a player as Sam, and you miss him not being in that team. And I still don't feel we've seen the real Sam yet in his time here, just because of the niggling injuries and then this injury.
Yeah.
It looks like he's out to June. Krylak might be back with a chance to come off the bench against Miami. That is a possibility. And I still think he'll come good for us, but he needs a spell where he's healthy and to get up to match fitness.
But Michael, is it not also fair to even say, even if Brian White, does relatively well, and even if Krylak does kind of take up a second role, that they would still do well to add?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
For me, they need to add their main striker still.
Yeah.
Like someone that will be ahead of Brian White in the pecking order. The two pieces that I want to see added is an out-and-out striker and a creative number 8 that can take a little bit of the pressure off Ryan Gauld to be more creative and maybe not have to drop back and do as much work as he's had to do in these last few games.
I totally agree with you.
Obviously, everyone is out looking for top strikers. Olivier Giroud is coming to LAFC.
Yeah, it's just a rumor that Griezmann's going to join him, right? That's crazy, right?
That for now, that is the rumor. But Giroud was confirmed this week.
That seems crazy, doesn't it?
It does. It seems a luxury, and this is where this fourth DP coming in is going to benefit clubs like LA if they can pull stuff like this off.
Yeah, it seems crazy to me.
I saw a headline in The Athletic saying Hugo Lloris had basically talked Olivier Giroud into coming to LAFC. If only we'd had somebody that could have done that to him here in Vancouver, because he was linked with us a couple of times, but
like Ryan Gould's not talking to his Scottish buddies?
I mean, Ali McCoy's a bit old now to bring him in as a prolific striker, but I think he could still do a job here. That's the problem. Scotland doesn't have a prolific striker. But I just look at RSL with envy at Chicho Arango.
Oh, yeah.
I just can't help but thinking, surely we could have made a play for him. If RSL could have got him, I mean, it might have been the grass v turf, I don't know. But if he's going to a team like RSL, surely we could have put ourselves in the mix. With all respect to RSL.
But Vancouver took the player who he replaced in one sense, right?
Yeah.
Which, then, that's maybe a cynical way to look at it, but yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate.
I mean, he's just been an absolute joy to watch this season, and he's making RSL tick. And we'll talk about the RSL Colorado game in a sec. RSL wow. I mean, they are just playing some fantastic football. Every season, and it's easier now with the Apple thing, There's always a team that I'm like, oh, if there's no Whitecaps game
Go
or
watch them,
Canadian
yeah.
team on, or even if there is a Canadian team on, I'm like, oh, there's a team that I actually enjoy watching. I'll flick that on. It was Kansas City for a bit, mainly Johnny Russell. Like even like New York Red Bulls for a while, it's like that's a good team to watch. A couple of seasons back, it's like they had entertaining games. Obviously, with Miami now with their plethora of talent, it's like they are fun to watch just the way that they move the ball about. But this season, it's like if RSL are playing and there's not a Whitecaps game or another key game affecting the Whitecaps on, I'm putting that RSL game on.
For my kids, just because they got to go to a game there, it's LAFC. I mean,
That's understandable, though.
my daughter doesn't watch a lot of MLS at all to begin with, but whenever she sees LAFC, they have a spot in her heart, a small spot, but a spot in her heart. And Kirk watches usually whatever I'm watching, and watches quite a bit. But yeah, LAFC I think is a team they like keeping an eye on.
But for me, that's exactly what the Whitecaps are needing. Like I think defensively, we're solid. I like the defensive makeup there. Javane Brown, I was concerned for that Seattle game when I saw that back three. I really thought they were going to get given a torrid time. But Seattle just were not good at all and really did not test them.
No.
And put my hand up. I was worried about Javane Brown coming in, but he came in and did really, really well.
Chicken wing and all.
I was going to say you should hand it to him. Maybe you should arm it to him. But I mean, he came in and he put in a solid performance. Matthias Laborda in the middle of the back three was good. Tristan Blackman's starting to get back to the good Tristan Blackman. Ranko got a rest. When I saw he was missing, I was like, oh, I hope you're not just resting him for the Cavalry game midweek. But Vanny had said that he felt he's kind of lost a step the last couple of games, so this was the time to rest him. And yeah, it's worked out well. So in the middle, we definitely need to strengthen there. Up front, we've got to bring in a DP striker. Where that comes from, I hope it's somebody that is lined up. Even a free agent coming in now. I don't care where he comes from. I don't care if it's a big league, if it's a small league. We just need a guy that is a proven prolific goal scorer somewhere and then see if he can do it at MLS level.
Yeah, that's fair.
Easier said than done, of course.
Yeah, that is also true.
Yeah. Let's look at a little bit around MLS. We won't go into all the games because obviously it was a 2-game week for everyone just now. But if you look at the standings right now, the Whitecaps have finished this weekend sitting in 7th. 13 games played, so they've still got a game in hand on some of the teams above them. But they're sitting on 19 points, 5 wins, 4 draws, 4 defeats now. Leading the way is RSL. They've got a 4-point lead at the top now. And that was a barn burner game at the weekend. The Rocky Mountain Cup. Colorado Rapids. Now, I watched the start of this, and then I didn't watch it once the Whitecaps game started, but you were giving me updates during it.
I had the Whitecaps game was on the big screen, and I had that on a tablet. And yeah, it was crazy.
I mean,
was insane.
3 goals from the 85th minute mark for Salt Lake to come away and take all 3 points with us.
Well, yeah. But
there's a lot to talk about in this defensively in particular.
I mean, former Whitecap Zach McMath did all he could to try and give Colorado as many goals as
possible.
Two of them at least were on him, from what I remember.
One I think was a little bit unfair to totally blame him because he did make a save to start with and then kind of fumbled it a little bit. But the first one was definitely on him. He just went on a little bit of a walkabout. I think he was a bit bored. But Colorado jumped out to a 2-goal lead and deserved lead as well. They were playing some nice stuff.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was Cole Bassett or Navarro's goal that McMath just went on a complete walkabout for. He was just... Not only was he off his line, he was way off to the left as well.
Well, that's because he'd come out. He played a pass, which I don't think the pass was horrible from my memory. But then
no, it wasn't.
He stayed wide. He stayed really wide. I guess I don't know why, anticipating them to switch play and to be available for the back pass or what. But it was brutal, man.
Yeah,
it was. You as a keeper, you can't let that happen.
I mean, the defense is all round because the first RSL goal, was kind of handed to Arango a little bit on a plate as well.
Yes, it was. That was
To put it
that was one
mildly.
that Zach Steffen like parried into the ground and it bounced like 2 or
Yeah.
3 feet in front of him.
But I mean, if you're going to just watch one game from this weekend and you haven't yet, check out the highlights for this.
Yes.
5-3 RSL, everything you want in a derby game, great atmosphere, great goals, fun goals, but just overall, just an absolutely tremendous game. And I was reading Chris Armis's comments after the match. And it's like, I've been quite down on Chris Armis. I don't think he's a great coach. This comment baffled me. He's like, the only thing I'm going to say to start here is we didn't lift the trophy tonight, but our guys played like champions. We said we're going to come here and go for it. We did that. We came out. We did that. They set the tone, had a good response at half-time, and we're 2 minutes away from stoppage time. So I'm really proud of the team and those behaviours. You don't need to lift the trophy to become a winner. I saw a bunch of winners out there today. I'm really proud of my team. And I wasn't sure if that was his post-match comments to Colorado Rapids' first team or the under-10s. You did well. You don't need to lift the trophy. It's the taking part that counts. I'm proud of you all.
So obviously he's talking about the Rocky Mountain Cup, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't know he put so much stock in it, but there we go. That's just, you don't need to win the trophy to feel like a champion or a winner.
It's a shocking perspective from a professional football manager.
Yeah.
It feels like, all the things you've heard about him, like hearing that and you're like, okay, I can understand why, so many people were down on him in some of his other roles.
Yeah, that was just crazy. But I mean, for me, that was the game of the weekend. Flipping over to talking derbies, it's just, we were talking about this, so it's in my head, so we'll talk about it now. The New York derby.
Yeah.
I was watching a little bit of that live, and then I was flicking between 360 on Apple and stuff. That pitch was an absolute disgrace.
Yeah.
It wasn't the only one this weekend, because that pitch in Miami, that game should not have gone ahead into that. I just kept waiting for Messi to twist his ankle and definitely be out for this coming weekend. But that New York pitch, I've said it before, if it wasn't New York, no other team would be allowed to get away with that. It's just because it's in New York. But that is an embarrassment for the league. A league that's got more eyeballs on it now, and you're building up derby rivalries, and folk will be like, oh, let's tune in and see the New York derby, which was a cracking game.
Yeah, it was actually.
Really enjoyed this one, but that was an absolute.
I don't think Forsberg for Deadpool enjoyed it.
No, he didn't look that happy. What a flipping fortunes though between the two sides. Red Bull's on a downward trajectory now, and NYC seem to have turned the corner. Well done, Nick Cushing. What a great coach.
Two of world football's football conglomerates going to head in America, the promised land for trying to expand your brand and make more money.
Well, I mean, just wait till they start playing like Bundesliga and English Premier games over here. Actually, they probably won't do Bundesliga. I don't think Bundesliga would bow down to La Liga and EPL style. Let's play a 39th game over in North America. Although now that La Liga's had to go ahead to play actual league matches here, I think it won't be a 39th game. If anything, it's going to be a proper game. And this was something I was listening to as well in the famous Sloping Pitch podcast. They're like, it's not going to be like Luton versus Fulham. That's not going to be the game that's moved to North America.
I think it's going to be a while before Bundesliga fans would ever allow that to happen.
Yeah, right? I would hope they would never allow that to happen.
I don't think they would for league games. Friendlies, preseason, of course, they whatever. But
I mean, I'm sure you are 100% in agreement with me here when I say football clubs should play their home matches in their home city. They should not get moved under any way, shape, or form.
Are we revisiting this right now?
I'm just mentioning a general point. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't disagree with you that's how it should be. That's the ideal.
Unless you can't get a stadium because there's a home and garden show on and you've got to kind of move. get a ferry and go somewhere else. That's the only exception.
Or your pitch is frozen and you have to go to a different property.
Yes, that's true.
There's been a lot of examples this year.
We just couldn't dig the ball out. There was a frozen horse under it. We thought it was a horse. It turned out to be a mammoth. It was that deep snow and frost on the pitch. Anyway, let's get back to the MLS chat. These are why the podcasts are 3 hours. So RSL out on top, 4-point lead they've got now. And Minnesota are keeping pace at the top, 4 points behind in second place. They've been playing some nice stuff. They've been getting the results as well. They had a good win this weekend as well.
Oh, Minnesota 2-1? Yeah, that was the Canadian keeper clash, right? With Dane Sinclair.
Yeah, so it was another Canadian derby this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was the battle of the possible future Canadian number ones. Mm-hmm. And yeah, Minnesota run out deserved winners here against Portland. Portland took the lead in this one.
Yes,
and then Minnesota came storming back. And Gary Neville, his coat has to be on a sugary peg. But as I mentioned, at one point on Saturday, Portland were sitting in 9th in the playoff spots. Now they're sitting in 11th, 3 points behind St. Louis. And going back to what we said in the first part, they were handed a win against San Jose midweek. Without that, it's Portland that's bottom and not San Jose. And I think Neville is out this week, if that had been the case.
I don't.
You don't think so? You think it'd be too early to pull the trigger on him?
Yes. I think they wouldn't want to throw that money away right now.
I mean, I hope he's still in charge for when we play them in June, because I genuinely would like to have a chat with him just about his career and various stuff, kind of set the feelers for that up when they were here back in May. So fingers crossed. Would you start
with what was it like to get fired by Bex?
Oh no, I'd be starting with, do you remember that day in August 1995 when you came on as a sub against East Fife at Bayview? That is the only question that everyone wants to know.
Only question.
Well, the only two important questions in MLS this year are, what was it like to play against East Fife, Phil? And you're sitting at home, Lionel. You fancy a hot drink? Do you go for a tea, a coffee, or maybe one of those fancy little matty drinks that all you South American guys like to have a little drink off? That's still my dream with your
metal straws.
Yes, such a weird thing. It just looks like some kind of weird drug habit. I think it's because I first saw Diego Maradona with it. I think that's why that stuck in my head.
Oh, yeah, that would do it.
Yeah.
Context. It's all about context.
It's all about context. Anyway, back to MLS. The MLS West, crazy as we've said. Do you know what's even crazier right now?
The East?
No. The top 7 teams in the West have positive goal difference. Teams 8 to 14 are all sitting on a minus goal difference right now. Now, that is quite the thing. Then you look at the East, and teams 9 to 15 are sitting on minus goal difference. So in both conferences, there's teams in the playoff positions with a minus goal difference right now.
Is that abnormal for the league, though?
It feels more than usual. Just a couple of other results from the West I just want to mention. I was going to say Aztecs. Just because I had ATX on the screen, I was like, Aztecs! I've gone way back in time. Not back to the actual Aztecs, but to Austin Aztecs. But Austin, 3-2 winners over Kansas City. Johnny Russell made them angry.
Yes,
and then Austin came storming back. Austin are playing some nice football just now, it has to be said. Makes that 0-0 draw feel a little bit better a few weeks ago at BC Place, even though Austin did absolutely nothing during that game and we should still had the 3 points. But that was another entertaining one, the 3-2.
Mm-hmm.
Houston, Dallas 1-0 draw. That wasn't a classic for a Texan derby. I want a little bit more coming out of that. But I mean, that was basically the main talking points coming out of the West. How it stands just now, it's RSL, Minnesota, Austin, LA, LAFC, Colorado, Vancouver, Houston and St. Louis. Outside, looking in, Seattle, Portland, Dallas, Kansas City and San Jose. I still expect Kansas City Seattle, and probably Portland to make a run into the playoffs. St.
Yeah.
Louis have been quite up and down. They've been
Yo-yo.
playing some nice stuff and then some not so good stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think I have a soft spot for Berkey, and I think that he can really help them. I think
Oh,
is
he
Nowitzki,
is a key player for them right now. He had a string of saves at the weekend.
is Nowitzki injured or just totally out of favor?
Totally out of favour. He had a howler at the start of the season, and he's just not involved in the team right now. Much, of course, to Haar's utter anguish.
But I think he's finding his place.
Yes. USL Championship.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, actually, very probably.
But no, yeah, Berkey and Santa Claus banging goals. Yeah, I think they're always like a potential threat to be a playoff team.
Yeah. Let's quickly turn our attention to the East. Miami out in front. We'll come to them very shortly. Cincinnati, though, breathing down the neck. And Cincinnati actually leading in the Supporters' Shield race now because they've played a game less than Miami. But let's talk about the Canadian derby that was played this weekend. What time is it, Zach?
Yeah. I texted you that and you're just like, I'm watching this other game.
Yeah, I was watching I think I was watching the New York derby.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you
were. If it had been on TSN, I would have probably had it on, but because I had Apple up on my TV, I thought, I can't be bothered watching two shit teams battle it out. But it turned out that Montreal were really, really shit.
Yeah, and Bernadeschi was having fun with it.
Had a new lease of life in a wing-back position.
Did his hair up in braids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was. One of the TFC players afterwards had an F Montreal t-shirt on. Try not to swear in this episode so we don't have to mark this one explicit.
Lots of people I think had those on.
It's different for the fans to have them on, but for a player to put it on afterwards.
Oh, right. Sorry, yeah.
I liked it. It's like stoke that rivalry for all you can, and with all the battles, literal battles that's been happening off the pitch with the fans in recent years, it's like stoke it some more.
When it comes to Bernadeschi and Insigne to a different degree, I mean, when you're making that kind of money to play football, you should be having some fun.
Yeah, you should. And I think last year though, like I know we make fun of it and that they were busts and all that money wasted, they were bottom, everything like that. Like I felt for Bernadeschi last year because he's a quality player, and he just felt like any joy he got from football had been completely sucked out of him.
Yep.
And it's back. And he is, I'm not saying he's up there for MVP contention, but if you were drawing up a short list, he's one of the names you'd be putting down.
Yeah.
As of now.
And you'd have him in your all-star team, right, Mike?
I would actually, probably. Although it's hard to fit. Well, I guess he's playing wing back now, so that gives you a little bit of flexibility there to fit him into your all-star team. That all-star team's going to be so interesting this year as to how many Miami players they can squeeze into it.
Next year, that game's going to be a BC place, I think, right?
Sadly, Austin.
Next year's Austin. This year's Austin, isn't it?
No, 2025's Austin.
Where is it this year?
I don't know, actually. Let's have a quick look.
I thought next year. Sorry, I missed the Austin announcement.
Yeah, no, that was just this week.
Oh, there you go.
2026, we could have it. We'll have a grass pitch by then. Oh, although it'll be when the World Cup has been on, and we might not still have the stadium back by that point. FIFA might still be having their grubby little mix.
I was just thinking it would be a way to get Messi back.
See, that's the reason I don't think we would get it, because I had said last year, like, Messi is to play in all the Western things if he can, all the cities. So the way to get him here is to have an all-star game. But we've got him in a proper match that actually means something now. Columbus are hosting the 2024 all-star game.
Oh yeah, they're nice little newer stadium. Yeah. No, but I meant like have them like 2 years in a row, right?
Yeah, they're not going to do that when other teams in the West haven't had them. That's the thing.
No, but I mean, the reason I say it though, Michael, is not what Don Garber has said or Axel or whoever has said, like Vancouver has they have the right to host a All-Star game.
Oh, I asked Garber that regularly when he's been up here. And it's like they've had it since they've come into the league, and it's up to them. As soon as they say they want to host it, they'll get to host it. Why would you want to host that, though, when Wrexham can come to town? Or Crystal Palace?
Again, Michael, those are not matches orchestrated by the stewards of Vancouver Whitecaps.
That is very true. And obviously the All-Star game is a load of nonsense, but if it was ever held here, I would be all over it like a rash.
I will say, having covered, well, I guess I covered the Chipotle game for you. I got to cover training.
You just covered yourself in Chipotle. That was more what it was.
No, I got to hang out with, who is it? Morgan and Tybert. That was fun. But I got to do training. That was good. Training at the All-Star game. That was a lot of fun.
I genuinely, I'm a sucker for all these things like, who can hit the most penalties? Like, I've said this before. I used to go to the Canucks skills thing that they had every year when I first came here. I had lapped it up. I loved that. I love that kind of nonsense.
Oh, you missed that part of the call. You missed that part of the call. The post game at the end. At the end, Vanny was like, "Okay, listen up, everyone. Italian restaurant, great food." He says, "You have to come to the Canadian Championship over going to the ice hockey." And then he leaves, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, Game 7. I think I don't follow ice hockey, but I'm pretty sure I've been told it's on Monday. And I was like, the Voyageurs Cup is on Tuesday, and then there's this pause while they're waiting for Ryan Gold to come, and then Vanny comes back. He's like, and he like comes in front of the camera like all weird on an angle. He's like, "I've just been told the ice hockey is on Monday. No Italian restaurant for you." Because he was basically trying to say to the media guys, like, "Look, if you come to our game, I'll take you out for dinner. Choose us over the ice hockey."
Yeah. I don't know what that crowd's going to be like. We'll talk Canadian Championship next part, though.
Yeah.
I like all the stuff like that, All-Star games, all the skills contests, everything like that. It's like the circus has come to town.
Oh, yeah.
There's a segue.
There's your segue.
Because this Saturday, the circus is coming to town. It's the Messi v Messi battle.
Scottish versus Argentine.
I want to throw something out to our listeners. I want to put together a bingo card, an AFTN Miami coming to town bingo card for the game on Saturday. We'll try and put this up on the site if we get enough people entering it. So I'll start with the middle square. So the middle square is obviously the thing that is definitely going to happen. So I'm putting in the middle square pitch invader, because there is bound to be at least one.
I was going to say, do you mean should that be pluralized? Which, in all honesty, is really unfortunate for the Whitecaps. They have to pay some fine, and it's actually BC Place security that are the people responsible.
Yeah. I mean, security levels are going to be something else. Like, photographers have to get a special bib to allow them to get to pitch level, so folk can't just pretend they're a photographer by having a pass and a bib. Yeah. There's going to be, like, normally for... And I'm going to say this right off the bat. The likes of Messi and everything coming to MLS is fantastic. Everything that goes with it is a necessary pain because of having that. The Whitecaps only have to deal with this once. I feel for like the Miami comm staff that have to deal with this on a regular basis, home and away, security levels, making sure that their players are all kept fine, making sure that folk are kept out of areas that they shouldn't be in. This must just be constant stress for them. And I really feel for them.
I think I saw somewhere like his personal bodyguard is like pitch side, eh?
Yeah. Oh, he'll be on that pitch as quick as the pitch invader if someone comes on. Yeah. He won't be taking any shit from the pitch invaders. We can have that as one of our bingo squares.
Just get, you know what they need to do? Just, I don't know what it'll cost, but just Cushman.
Oh, the guy with the rugby tackle. Yeah.
Garrett Cush out there. And just say, hey, put up video before game. Just say, hey, if you go on the pitch, Garrett Cush is going to get you.
I remember that very well. I'm prepared to...
Did he get sued for that?
There was talk of it happening. I never ever heard what happened.
I
with
mean,
it,
obviously, I hope he didn't.
Yeah, it was a fantastic tackle.
Yeah.
It's what's needed. I am prepared for this game to volunteer my services as security at pitchside.
And what will you do?
I will make sure I'm beside Messi at every possible opportunity. After the game, not during it. I think he might leave me for dead with one little shimmy and he's away.
Well, he does. Remember, he does a lot of walking during the match.
That's true. Yeah, you know, when walking that pitch, it'll take a lot out of you. But the post game, because normally you can hang outside the locker room. You're meant to be able to get into the locker rooms, which, as I've said, I'm never comfortable doing anyway. I'm quite happy that they bring players out. So you won't be with Miami. It's a mixed zone that you would normally get the big tournament, so that's understandable as well. Normally, both coaches don't come into the post game, but Tata Martino will be coming in to speak before Vanni, so everyone will get a chance to do that. Hopefully people then stay for Vanni and don't just pile into Miami, because I want to be there on my own. I don't want anyone else to come. But no, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun occasion. And as I said last week, I hope Messi scores, the Whitecaps win, everyone goes home happy. That's the perfect scenario. Nightmare scenario, Messi doesn't turn up, Suarez doesn't turn up, and Miami still win.
That's not going to happen. Yeah, it would be crazy this week if it comes. Oh yeah, he's got a knock in training. Oh, that would be a nightmare. I don't think it's going to happen though. I think he's going to come.
I'm 100% sure he's going to come.
Like you said before, like you said earlier, he's a professional. He realizes what his role is in the game and what he signed up for. And this isn't. I mean, Golden Balls also did the same thing, right?
I was going to say, as much as I don't like David Beckham, he and Zlatan as well.
Yeah. Yes.
They and Sebastian Schweinsteiger.
Yeah.
Bastian Schweinsteiger. I don't know why I call him Sebastian, but there we go. Big players that fully understood the role here. Shaqiri as well in Chicago.
Yes.
Has always had time to speak to all the fans.
But,
these are guys that's come here and they know about growing the game.
But who hasn't? Just is Henry the only one?
Yeah. I get why.
No, I get why too.
Because it's not proper pitches for him and his knee, and you're going to do more damage. Gerrard wasn't maybe as forthcoming as he could have been when he was here.
Oh, Lampard played though.
Lampard was fairly good at it. Rooney put himself up and stuff as well. Pirlo was good. I mean, most of the guys have. Chiellini, just an absolute dream. Yeah. Still hope to get him on the podcast at some point for a lengthy chat. But yeah, I think Messi does understand that. He's not going to do media. I mean, if he did come and do media, it would be fantastic. I will ask the chocolate digestive question if he comes over. But here's some stuff for the bingo card. So, middle square, pitch invaders. Kubis goes through Messi. That's one of my squares. Suarez takes a bite out of someone.
That's not going to happen.
I know. Not all bingo things have to come off. Otherwise, everyone would be a winner, Zach.
Oh, sorry.
Of course, in life, everyone is a winner.
Well, if you play for Chris Armas, you're a winner. So
yes. Trophies aren't important. So, yeah, let me know what other things should go on the Messi bingo card. And let's see how many Messi jokes I get in next weekend in the podcast. Obviously, we'll be calling it Things Got a Bit Messy. If Ryan Scholes scores a hat-trick, things are going to get messy in that press box, I tell you. You'll be needing some hot towels beside me.
Oh, Michael.
And on that note, that is it for our MLS chat. It's not it for the Whitecaps chat, though, as we're going to turn our attention to cups. They do matter. Trophies matter, Chris Armas. We'll be back chatting about that after this episode's song from our album of the month.
Hi, I'm Tommy Wheeldon Jr, and you are listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Kisses
welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's this episode's song from our album of the month here at AFTN for May, Brooklyn, all-girl band Habibi, and a song taken from their debut self-titled album released in 2014. That was Detroit Baby, a song that really captures that sound that they've got on this album, the kind of almost 1960s kind of surf sound, coupled with the all-girl harmonies. Really love this album. Hope you are enjoying the songs we're playing from it. We're going to bring you two in the next show as well to wrap everything up. But I picked this one for this show in particular, Zach, because Detroit Baby, Detroit City, a team still in the US Open Cup this year, with a couple of shocks on the way. I don't know if we talked a lot about the US Open Cup with all the MLS nonsense before the season began. I don't know if you've had a chance to follow much of the action in it at all.
I have not this year, and I do appreciate the tournament, obviously, and I do think it should be treated with the respect that it deserves based on its history and what it means and what it is. But yeah, I have not been able to follow, mostly because it's on Tuesday and Wednesday nights, and I work most Tuesday and Wednesday nights. I have been to. I think I went to a Seattle Portland U.S. Open Cup game back in the day.
Yeah, I went to Seattle Kitsap Pumas back in the day.
But I do want to say, Detroit City. Can't remember the guy's name, but there was a comedian in the last, let's say, few weeks or month, who went on. I want to say the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.
Oh.
And he was wearing Detroit City FC stuff. Like, he was wearing socks. He was wearing, maybe not shorts, but he was wearing like a shirt.
Full-kit wanker.
No. It was a t-shirt with a scarf, with a jacket, with a hat, and he was like,
wow.
Jimmy just let him promote. He's just like,
oh, I have to check that out.
I forget the guy's.
Is he just a supporter, or is he a co-owner?
No, he's just he's either comedian or actor or a comedic actor or something. And he was just like, I love Detroit City.
Well, you know who the head coach is?
Yeah, of course, it's Danny Dichio.
Danny Dichio. Danny Dichio. Danny Dichio. Danny Dichio. Yeah, Detroit City. They're still in the US Open Cup. So I've not had a chance to watch as much of it as I hoped.
Actually, I think he was promoting their cup match. This guy, I think, maybe.
Yeah, they've got, well, I was going to say they've got a big one coming up. The last one was against the big one. This is more, it's an all-USL championship match up in the round of 16.
Who was the last one against? I'm looking at the notes here.
Houston.
Yeah. Oh, it was right after that. He referenced the...
because it was a 3-3 draw after extra time, and then Detroit City went through 10-9 on penalties.
Yeah, I think he was talking about that on the Tonight Show, the guy.
But the US Open Cup's in the round of 16 stage now. So of the 16 teams left, there's 9 USL championship sides in it, 6 MLS teams, and 1 MLS Next Pro side, which is NYC2. So at least one of the USL championship teams will be in the quarters, because Indy 11 are hosting Detroit on Wednesday.
Is Indy 11 pushing for an MLS team again?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because remember, there's not going to be that many more spots, and Vegas are kind of one of the favourites to get any remaining spot.
Is 32 going to be? I know
they will extend, and they probably will move into somewhere like Indianapolis. But then it's going to be disappointing if they do like what they did in San Diego, and they don't give it to the USL owners, and they give it to new owners, and then Indy 11.
Well, I thought I saw some stuff about Indy 11 themselves trying to.
Well, they might.
I think they're getting a new stadium too, or they're working towards a new stadium. Remember, Martin Rooney was there, right?
Yeah. I mean, it would be. It's like what I spoke about last week. I like to see if you've got a pathway where a team can move up from, say, USL Championship into MLS with the same name, actual branding, everything, and just move into, even if you do a slight rebrand because it's MLS, but I like to see them moving up. I mean, just this week, following on from our discussion last week, CS Saint Laurent have had serious interest from investors to get them to be the Quebec team that comes into the CPL. Now, their owners have been trying to play down all the hype around them just now, saying, look, it's still at the exploratory stage, don't get too carried away. But I mean, it's fantastic news for CS Saint Laurent.
Yeah, but again, the reality is you need the financial backing to be able to actually run the club, and again to have your place within the ownership.
And that's the problem from any of the USL teams trying to step into MLS because of the absolutely obscene expansion fees that are getting charged.
Yeah,
$500 million. It's like,
is that what it is now? Is it 500?
Yeah.
I feel bad for who was it? Sacramento was one. Even San Antonio.
They were absolutely screwed over.
Yeah.
San Antonio as well should have been in, but 4 Texan teams is obviously a bit of a push. But just quickly back to the US Open Cup before we get on to the Canadian Championship. It has been a good competition so far. There's been a few shocks. One of the early ones that I was kind of following, a San Francisco amateur side, El Farolito from the NPSL. They knocked out Timbers 2 in the first round, which was nice. And then there was a few other upsets along the way. I won't go into them all. But the last round, where the MLS sides grudgingly came in to the competition at the round of 32 stage, KC needed extra time to beat USL 1 side Union Omaha 2-1. Seattle needed penalties to beat Louisville City at home. USL Championship side New Mexico United knocked out RSL 4-2, and then Detroit City, as we mentioned, knocked out Houston on penalties. So it's all great stuff. I kind of wish it wasn't, obviously I understand why, but it wasn't the same week as the Canadian Championship. It'd be nice to give focus to both of them, but just so much football going on. But the Canadian Championship is back in action this week. And I don't like these Tuesday games because our podcast comes out on a Monday and it's not a big enough lead time to set up the game. But hopefully enough of you will listen to this before this game on Tuesday. 7:30 kickoff at BC Place. Curious what the crowd's going to be like for this one. And at least it isn't clashing with a Canucks game.
Yeah. Well, hopefully good. I mean, again, if you're a Whitecaps fan, you're enjoying the season, or you've gone to the finals in the past couple of years, get out and go watch this game. I think if you didn't see the first leg, it was intriguing. The Whitecaps didn't totally walk it. It was a competitive match. This game will be a competitive match. Cavalry have won in this competition at BC Place 2-1 to advance. So technically they're undefeated at BC Place, right?
Yeah.
So, this will be. The Whitecaps could go in and win 3-0 or whatever, but I think this will be more like another 2-1 or 3-2 or 3-1 kind of game, and I think the Whitecaps will prevail, but you cannot count out Tommy Wheeldon Jr. and the Cavs.
No, like the first.
So get out and watch this. If you're like, season ticket holders must get this game, right?
I think they do get the first one. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think they do possibly get the first one.
They usually do. So if you're a season ticket holder, take up that opportunity to go to this game. If you're not, get tickets and go and hang out. It should be fun. Also, when one of the things from the supporter section side of things, when things are smaller, it is easier for things to be. It's easier for you to hear things. Sometimes what happens is the bodies kind of act as sponges and they absorb some of the noise, and it's hard to hear. So if you want to learn some of the songs, you might not have to be as close. But no, like get out and enjoy this because it's an amazing competition, and the Whitecaps are in the form of their lives in it and looking to do again something they've never done before in the three-peat.
Three-peat. I mean, the first goal in this game is going to be absolutely crucial. If the Whitecaps get it, that's probably the tie done and dusted because of the away goals rule. Then they've got the two. It would force Cavalry to open up, and you feel the Whitecaps then would just tear them apart a little bit. If Cavalry can get the first goal, it is very much game on. Tied on aggregate, they need to score twice at BC Place, at least, is basically what it boils down to.
Cavs scored the first time in the last game at BC Place, right?
Yeah, I think it was Zator actually with the.
Zator got the winner. He got the winner. It was Brown. I think Brown got the opening goal and the
Oh,
Whitecaps
maybe.
equalized.
I just
And
remember
then
that one playing out, and like Tommy Wheeldon Jr. was just like
over the moon.
cloud 11
Yeah.
after that victory, and he's going to be up for this. He's going to have his team up for it. I think it's a tough one for Cavalry. I
All
genuinely
right.
think the Caps will run out maybe 2-3 goal victory in this one, but it does all come down to this first goal.
Yeah.
The-
You're right. First goal will be massive for how this game goes.
yeah, but it should be a good matchup. What can we expect from Cavalry in this one? Well, jumped on Tommy Wheeldon Jr. call to find out about that. So here is some of Tommy's thoughts ahead of that matchup on Tuesday at BC Place.
You guys know you need at least 2 goals in this match tomorrow. You said you wanted your side to be a little bit more bold during the second half, and that was kind of the message to them at halftime. How important is that in this game to, be bold and brave and really go at Vancouver?
Yeah, at both ends. I think Mitchell is listen, we're in a cup tie here. We're still in a cup tie. It's a lot different than our one where we played in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, where 3-0 deficit going to the away leg is a lot different. So it'd have taken a Herculean effort. We've got to score 2 goals. Something we've done previously, but these are 2 different sides and it's a different format. So for us, the case is just putting our best foot forward, enjoying the occasion and giving our best selves out there.
You look back at 2019, you've come here, you've beaten the Whitecaps before. It is, as you touched upon, 2 very different sides now. But the Whitecaps are kind of not in their best form. Is the message to your guys, look, just go out there and play freely? Or do you feel, because the first goal is so key, that you kind of have to have a bit of a more structured game plan here?
Listen, this is their backyard, but I think it's one of those that, we've got to score 2 goals to be in the tie. If they score, it kind of cancels out. We've got to score 2 goals. So I think that gives you a little bit of freedom. The fact that, we are the underdog going into it also gives us a little bit of freedom. But, irrespective of what's going on in the league right now, is they're still a terrific side. And I think they've started the season very, very well. And they've been, very good at home. So I know Vanny and his staff have got them well organised. I know they'll have been doing their due diligence, but they've had a busy time now. So I think for us, if the 2019 comparisons, all it says to us is anything is possible. And I think that'll be the message to the players there. Anything is possible.
What do you make of the 2-legged ties? It's kept you in it to have this second leg, but are you a fan of it? Would you prefer the straight knockout to be back?
Yeah, I don't know. I've played in different iterations. I think there's never been a similar, I think this is the first time in CPL where we've played the same playoff format. In the Can Champ, in the 5 involvements, I think this is the first time we've done back-to-backs, isn't it? Since 2019. I may be wrong, but it just feels like things are changing. I like it. I think it's great for everybody. You want to have these cup ties where you play home and away. And I think it's great because we've got League One teams in it, you've got CPL teams in it, and you've got MLS teams in it. So the better you do, the further you go. I think it creates for a great experience. And you want to come to places like BC Place to be in a cup tie.
Last time I got to speak with you and to Charlie, you guys both spoke about, and maybe Charlie a little bit more than you, but you both spoke about how for your home matches and playing in league play, you are so used to teams coming at you with like different setups, different formations to try and catch you out. I'm just wondering if you talk about the mentality you have going into a game against an MLS side where maybe you're the ones who are trying to catch them out or the different mentality that you have going into this. Obviously, the goals and play a role in that, but and your approach we need to score. But yeah, is this a little bit of a different mentality for your guys?
Yeah, I think reality is we have to be our very best, and we have to make Whitecaps not be theirs. I think the grand scale of the 2 different salary caps and the leagues and the experience, we have to play above and beyond our ability, and we have to make sure that they don't play to theirs. And I think that's it. And what we've looked at is, having watched the game back a couple of times that we played at theirs, I think reality is the Levante Johnson worldie is the goal that actually separates us. And you look at the data points and, like I said, I think probably my comments after the game was like, I'd like to us to have been braver and bolder, but we played them very, very well, and they were in a good run of form. So what we've got to do is take that spirit and apply it to this one, and let's try and catch them out.
Cool. You talked there about the two-leggedness of it all. I wonder if you could, the away goals rule. It's something that's been dropped from most everywhere else in football. It feels like the CPL really wanted the two legs because of the ability to have larger clubs and smaller clubs come play at their ground and the attractiveness of that. Was there a push to get rid of the away goals rule? Like, how do you see the away goals rule in this competition?
Yeah, I guess I'm a bit of a traditionalist. So I think since the newer iteration of the Champions League and the away goals rule, it's kind of something that I've grown up with. So for me, to see it into the Can Champ is it's a nice addition to it. It's a nice return, and it's something that after in 2019 we went on that run, and we got an away goal even after we beat Whitecaps. We got an away goal at against Montreal. And if we'd have won that one goal at home instead of Montreal, we'd have knocked out another MLS club. So it's games within the game. I like it because, again, like I said, being brought up on it as a traditionalist with the current format of the Champions League.
Does the team, granted, when you look at an MLS side taking on a CPL side or another division, generally the MLS teams are going to be considered the favorites. Going into this one, they have a slight advantage. But do you feel maybe the underdog role is something that you guys are embracing this time going into Tuesday?
Yeah, we've not really talked about that. And the only reason being is games have come thick and fast. So after we'd played the Whitecaps, we played again on the weekend, and then we travelled again. And then suddenly we had a game against York. We've travelled today, and then we play tomorrow. So we haven't had a ton of time to frame it up. But I think what you're saying is you certainly have to embrace it. This is a more established club. They've been around for 50 years. We've been around for 6. We know the disparities between the two salary caps. They've got quality on their team, and they can beat anyone on their day. They're welcoming Lionel Messi on the weekend, right? So Ali Musi one day, Lionel Messi the next. That's just the tail of the tape right now in Canadian football, and I think that makes for some really good stories.
But it's very cold out here in the snow, marching to and from the enemy. Oh, I say it's tough, I have had enough. Can you stop the cavalry?
So Tommy Wheeldon Jr. with his thoughts around this game. He knows they're heading in as underdogs, but he also knows they've done it before. They've got nothing to lose. And if they can go and pull this one off, this is an even bigger win, I think, than in 2019, because it's a better Whitecaps side, and they're coming in behind in the tie, facing away goals as well. So if they can pull this out, this would be an absolutely fantastic win for them. Mm-hmm. But from a Whitecaps point of view, Zach, I mean, what can we expect from there? There's going to be changes. We know that for sure. We know Isaac Boehmer is going to start in goal again.
Yeah, and
no, and at least not to start if he's needed off the bench. I mean, hopefully he isn't, and he can get fully rested for this one. But I think we'll see a very heavy Canadian lineup again.
Yeah, Ryan Raposa.
Raposa is guaranteed
Ahmed
to be in there. Ali Ahmed as well. So, I mean, I think you've got your two kind of wing backs. I mean, in the back line, it's whether they want to keep going with the rotation. Does Hal Booney get an outing?
Yeah, he could. What about is Utvik's MLS suspension just one game, right?
Yeah, it was just the one. So, I mean, yeah.
So it's not like he's going to need match fitness or anything.
No, I mean, I think Utvik will be in for this one. I think Laborda will get rested because, again, Laborda's got history with Suarez from the time in Uruguay.
Oh, yeah.
So I think Vanny will want to kind of make sure that Laborda plays on Saturday against Miami. I would imagine if Ranko was rested on Saturday, Ranko could come in. I mean, that if Ranko comes in, you've got Ranko, Utvik, that would give you the chance to play Hal Booney as well. Because you'd have a pretty solid backline there. Levonte Johnson will get the start as well.
Yes, he will.
For me, the question is who leads the line here? Does Levonte lead it? Does he go with White? Does he try and give White a little bit of a rest? Because
in the game where he's in the first leg where he scored the 2 goals, was he on the left side?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, White was. Yes, of course.
Yeah, White had started that one. I mean, I would rest White for this ahead of the Miami game. I've got to say.
By rest, you mean start him on the bench, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And bring him on if needed, and if not needed, just do not bring him on at all. Same with Ryan Gold, would not start him in this one.
I have a feeling Gold might start, but I would think it would be, I think it would be wise, but it also might give Cav some hope and confidence, and if you see White and Gold on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll then have in the midfield, it'll be Berhalter and Priso.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Priso.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Fafa, I would imagine, might start. He might even lead the line, actually, with Levante. And then, I don't know, if we maybe get a little call-up from WFC2, maybe Kitchwali, Jay Herdman, sorry. Bringing John Herdman in would be a risky move, but Jay Herdman, because Herdman started on the bench for WFC2 today in their loss against Rapids 2. And I couldn't help but thinking the fact that he was on the bench, might he get a little run out in that game at BC Place? I'd like to see Kitchwali come on at some point as well, but yeah, it's going to be some interesting decisions. I
think you're right. Herdman is definitely a likely possible inclusion there. Whether it's I guess highly unlikely as a start, but definitely at some point.
Of course, depending on when you listen to this, you'll know if we're talking nonsense or whether that was quite an astute thinking of us. But the Canadian Championship will 3 of the games will wrap up in the quarterfinal stage. Another one goes next week, Pacific and Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely see a shock coming in Forge Montreal. I think Forge are going to knock Montreal out. Montreal are going to be shell-shocked after that game at the weekend. Forge are going to be, I was going to say full of confidence. Maybe not after their game at the weekend. We'll come to that in the next part.
Yes, we will.
Yes, we will. That might be the only CPL game we talk about in the next part. But I don't know. I fancy Forge to do this. I think it might go to penalties because I think it could be another 1-1 draw with the away goal. But I fancy them
again.
To do it.
Forge did rest some players, and Forge I think did have some players.
That cost them.
But yeah, it's really interesting. Bobby, I asked Bobby about set pieces and stuff, and because they're both the goals they could see in that game were either directly or off second phases of set plays, and he's like, look, we 3 times a week we practice set plays, we practice penalties, we practice whatever. Like, there's no shortage of our being ready for these things, so it's more like these are anomalies. He didn't really answer the second part of my question, which was, in modern football, you don't have people on post anymore.
Yeah.
And that was very costly in that match. But yeah, anyways, I agree with you.
Don't start me on my rant about people on posts and Canadian Championship finals. Jordan
Harvey. It would be great. I agree with you. It'd be great if Forge went through. I know I don't usually say that when it comes to them in the league, but in this, I think it would be great. And for CS Saint Laurent, you just hope they put in another good showing on the field, and it'll be interesting to see if their fans are able to put in the same kind of showing off the field like they did in the league.
My hopes are the semi-final lineup is Whitecaps, Pacific, Forge, and TFC. And they rig the draw, so it's East v East and West v West, and we've got 2 really good derbies.
They would never rig a draw, Michael.
Of course, they could rig it that's TFC Whitecaps and the 2 CPL teams, so there's a CPL team in the final, but...
They would never rig something.
Of course they wouldn't. Canada Soccer? Slap my wrists. It's all new at Canada Soccer now, Zach. It's actually totally different.
It is. Oh, yeah. We'll come to that.
We will indeed in the very next part, and we'll be back with that after we take you back to 1974.
Hi, I'm Caden Chung, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Free swallows, dark browning, streaky walls, crawling down the alley.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM, brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. They support us, go and support them for all your family legal needs. And kicking off this part, we've taken you all the way back to 1974. And this was a good week, music-wise, that year, because on May 24th, 1974, David Bowie released his 8th studio album, Diamond Dogs, and that was the title track from it. A fantastic album, features some of the Bowie classics, such as Rebel Rebel, Sweet Thing, and of course, Diamond Dogs itself. The single from the album was released the next month in June. The album reached number 1 in the UK, number 5 in the US. I don't have a note as to how it did in Canada, with the single Diamond Dogs reaching number 21 in the UK charts. Elsewhere in the music world this week 50 years ago, the number 1 single in Canada was The Entertainer by Marvin Hamlish, the theme song for the movie The Sting. In the US, it was comedy record The Streak by Ray Stevens, and the number 1 single in the UK this week 50 years ago was a song we played a few weeks back on the AFTN Soccer Show, The Rubettes with Sugar Baby Love. 50 years ago in Whitecaps land this week, the Caps had 2 more matches under their inaugural NASL season belt, one at home, one away, and there was a win and there was a defeat. Now, heading in to the home game on May 25th at Empire Stadium, head coach Jim Easton was not a happy chappy after Friday's training session was pretty much washed out. A week of continuous rain saw the Vancouver Sun rename the Empire Stadium pitch to Lake Empire, and feeling that Saturday's Whitecaps game was going to more resemble the Vancouver Sea Festival than a football match, Whitecaps head coach Jim Easton complained, "This is ridiculous. So help me, we wouldn't play under these conditions, even back home." But of course, as we know from modern day football in MLS and elsewhere in North America, conditions don't matter. It's all about the TV. The game has to go on. And on Saturday, May 25th, the game indeed went on at Empire Stadium, and 11,148 fans turned out to see the Whitecaps come away with a 1-0 win against the Boston Minutemen. Striker Brian Gant scoring the only goal of the game in the 43rd minute. In Monday's Vancouver Sun, the opening paragraph said, "The first concern was rather basic. Would there be a soccer game at Empire Stadium Saturday night? Or were those rowboats on the sidelines more than just decoration for the halftime show?" But the game did go ahead. The Whitecaps grabbed their second win of the 1974 NASL season. But the happy times weren't to last for the Whitecaps, because 2 days later they took to the pitch at Weingart Stadium in Los Angeles and fell to a 3-0 loss to the LA Aztecs. 6,248 fans in attendance for this one, and it was 0-0 at half-time, but the Whitecaps were undone by 3 second-half goals in an 11-minute spell. Tony Douglas putting the Aztecs ahead in the 68th minute with a fierce shot from 10 yards out. Less than 2 minutes later, Jerry Kazarian scored an almost identical goal for the Aztecs. Then 11 minutes from the end, Doug McMillan dribbled through the Whitecaps defence, crossed in from 6 yards out, and it was deflected past Whitecaps keeper Sam Newsome by Bobby Lenarduzzi. And the result saw the Whitecaps sink to the bottom of the Western Division standings with a 2-4 record. Vancouver head coach Jim Easton was unavailable for comment after the game, and he was believed to be giving the Whitecaps a dressing down for the defensive errors and poor performance. That was This Week in Whitecaps Land, 1974. From the past, right into the future, and the future of the Canadian men's national team. They finally got their head coach, Zach, and it's a man that when we looked at the various people that were in the mix for it, we were hoping he might be the one that got it, or we maybe not hoping, but we thought he was maybe the best candidate. Jesse Marsh, announced this week as the new Canadian men's national team head coach, or should I say MLS Canada men's national team head coach, which I will say is the last time I am ever going to utter those words. I just wanted to get that out there.
So brutal.
Yeah, we'll come to that aspect of it shortly. But I mean, what's your thought on the Marsh appointment just overall? I know we talked about it a few weeks back.
Yeah, I can't remember what I said a few weeks back. So if I say something that contradicts that now, I apologize. I do appreciate the sentiment that there are people who are frustrated that, you know, it's an American. I can appreciate that. I understand why it is and why this is happening, because they wanted to get someone with at least some level of experience. I know his national team coaching has been an assistant at World Cups and stuff, and with Bob Bradley. But he has that experience. He has Canadian experience, having coached Montreal in their inaugural kind of MLS run of things. So he knows the country at least on some level. And then, he has. I mean, I don't like the Red Bull system, but he's been a part of the Red Bull system, which I think has helped grow him as a coach. And I think he was probably a little bit prematurely ejected from his seat at Leeds.
Yeah, I mean, and he's being at Leeds, he's used to very dysfunctional stuff going on behind the scenes as well. So
right, well, yeah,
sets him up nicely.
So I'm not. Is it my favorite choice? No. Is it the worst choice? No. Should the nationality play a massive role? Yeah, I'd love if it was a Canadian, but at this moment when we're at, I'm not like torn up over that. Like some people I know are.
No, I some folk really are. I mean, Scotland had a German as their head coach, and they bombed our grannies. He was also terrible whilst he was in charge, but we'll gloss over that. But the only thing I don't like, well, there's two things I don't like about this appointment. I don't like the name thing, which we'll come to. But the main thing I don't like about this appointment is it has robbed me of 3 years of cunt jokes.
It's
Stefan Kuntz was in the mix.
Stefan Kuntz.
I mean, I don't know, that all Kuntz to me. But he was in the mix for the job.
Oh my.
And we had Kunt and the gang lined up to come on the show. Oh, I had 3 years of gags already written.
I'm so thankful. Stefan Kuntz, for me, will always be his Euro 96 performance for Germany. I think he scored the goal against England, right, in the semifinal?
Yeah.
And then there was a shootout, and we know what happened there. He did lots of coaching with the German youth national teams, where I think he did a lot really well. This latest stint he had at Turkey, I don't think really went great. From the fact that he was German, I would have been open to that, but I don't know that he would have been a fit here. I think culturally, and even experiential understanding of Canadian football on some level, I think Marsh is a better fit.
Well, there's a lot of things we can talk about with this, and there's been a lot of things already said by people wiser than us, and some way less wiser than us, over the past few days since the appointment. The whole appointment, from stuff I've read, from stuff I've listened to, basically, as soon as Jesse Marsh was interested, it was felt like it was his position to lose or to turn down. He apparently turned up for the meeting very well prepared as how he saw the Canada taking steps forward under him. So that's very promising to hear. Also, for all the ribbon we do of Canada soccer and everything, it was nice to hear Jesse Marsh speaks so highly of Canada Soccer and the professionalism that he said that they showed under Kevin Blue, da ba dee da ba da ba da ba dee da ba dee da ba da. So I'll try not to say his name too many times in this part because this will just drag this on. But he said he was very impressed by him and everything that was shown. And I've got to say that from what I've seen of that man that will not be mentioned, he has shown some really good professionalism. And there's some things he's done that I'm not sure about, like this whole branding of the position. I get why. But it was nice. Jesse said he's heard about the dysfunction and everything that's happening behind the scenes. So he had to go and see for himself what it was like. And he was very impressed with the professionalism shown. So everything in that regard, at least, is pointing in the right direction.
Totally. That's a very, very encouraging sign. Let's get to can we go to the money part?
Yeah.
Because I have strong feelings about this in multiple ways, and maybe in some ways you're not expecting, Michael. But I think the first thing that you have to say about this is Canadian football and the Canadian Soccer Association are in the midst of circumstances that have elements that are less than ideal.
A potential $4 million deficit this year being one of them.
Exactly. So on one level, when a Kevin Blue, I won't sing, when you have a Kevin Blue who is has experience in dealing with these kinds of things, or like raising funds or getting creative or whatever, when they create a solution to a problem, they need to be applauded, like first and foremost. Like
that, I would agree with. Yes.
Like so you can I can make fun of the name. I could say I hate the name. You could say you hate the name. Lots of people have already said that, made fun of it, whatever. But they found a solution to a very significant problem while not furthering that deficit. And maybe even potentially, we don't know this. I don't know this. Maybe others know this. Taking a chunk out of that deficit. Right? If it's true that the funding that has been raised will cover the coaching costs, maybe in their budget, that was part of where the deficit was going to come from, at least, a certain percentage of it or whatever. So on that front, I totally applaud them. Secondly, in terms of hey, we're going to title this with a branding like you would a stadium or whatever, like BMO Field or whatever. Yeah, I hate that. I just hate that in principle. Like I'd rather have things be called what they should be called. Whatever. What are the people in Toronto, like the South Lake, Lakeshore Terrace, or whatever they call it. What's it called?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, like stadiums, right? Like stadiums where they have these stupid branded names, but the actual people themselves call them, like the Waldstadion in Frankfurt. It's not the Commerzbank Arena or whatever to the locals. It's the Waldstadion, right?
Like even like closer at home, Cavalry. It's Atco Field, but we're calling it Spruce Meadows. Yeah,
exactly. So anyways, so that bugs me no matter what.
Yeah.
It's made even worse, though, the fact that it has the American League's name is attached to the Canadian men's national team job.
No, it's MLS Canada, Zach.
Yeah. It's the American League, Michael.
Well, this could have been worse, because when Stephen Kuntz was in line for the job, they'd actually lined up Tampax Pearl. And it was going to be Tampax Pearl men's national team head coach Stephen Kuntz.
Michael, you're so horrible. You were waiting for that for so long. Okay, no.
They felt that it would be too stuck up a title, though.
That's another element. The other element is, again, we need to, I think, express appreciation to the three MLS sides for being willing to put money forward in this way. Obviously, the leader in this, as he's been in the past, is Greg Kerfoot. Found it really interesting that he didn't want his name. What
I found interesting was it's listed as Vancouver Whitecaps.
Yeah, but it's Greg Kerfoot.
Yeah, MLSE and Joey Saputo. But Saputo's is under his charity foundation.
Yeah. So that's the other thing I want to say about this is, I think some people just think like, oh, these people they're just giving money to, they're out of their goodwill just giving you money. They're actually making it a charitable donation, right?
Yeah.
So they are receiving a charitable receipt for this. It'll help them whether it's their company. So in the Whitecaps case, maybe this helps their bottom line or helps their tax situation where they, this money goes out as they get a charitable donation receipt for it and it offsets some other losses somewhere or whatever. So it is from the goodness of their heart, but there is also a benefit to them.
Can I just say, though, that over the years, the Whitecaps have made a lot of charitable donations in football. You just have to look at the signing of Mustafa Jarju. I mean, that's the most charitable thing they've ever done.
But no one has done probably more than Greg Kerfoot in terms of supporting the national team.
The Whitecaps residency, the youth teams at national level, the women's team at national level. He has been fantastic and really, really does need applauded.
And here's the thing that's remarkable for him, Mike, is anyone can do this. I was talking to someone, and probably not the first person you would think of. I was talking to someone recently, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I've had contact with Kevin Blue," and I was like, "Why?" I was like, I wonder what context or like, what do you mean? And they're like, "Oh yeah, thinking about making a donation." I was just like, "Oh well, let me know when the press conference is." And they're like, "No, there's not going to be a press conference. It'll just be like a donation." I was just like, "Okay." I was like, "Why would you do that? Like, what's behind this?" And they're like, "Oh, it's a charitable donation. I get a tax benefit from it, and it helps the game and whatever." Blah, blah, blah. So they are having conversations with significant people with significant funds who long for the Canadian game to be, to continue to grow and to overcome the current barriers or the current climate or situation or however you want to phrase that. And so, again, congratulations to Kevin and his people for getting this done. And I hope that there can be more creative ways that will enable the women to get ready for the Olympics and the men to get ready for a home World Cup, and then obviously the women subsequently to get ready for the World Cup the year after as well, 2027.
I mean, I agree with pretty much most of everything you said there, so I won't bother going and echoing everything. A couple of things, like, to be serious. I know I've made a few jokes here, but like, to be serious about it, I don't like the title. And I understand that I don't like the title because it's not something I'm used to seeing in football.
Yeah.
And it is commonplace elsewhere, like especially American universities.
Yes.
And in golf, it was mentioned that I can't remember.
Kevin Blue was in golf, right?
Yeah. Stop saying that name. I've been in contact with him. I just phoned him up and went da da ba dee da ba da down the phone, which possibly is why I didn't get to ask a question at the press conference on Wednesday or Tuesday or whatever day of the week it was. I was very pissed off at that. Anyway, moving on. It's not all about me. I try to make it that, but that's why I've got a 3-hour show. The philanthropic aspect of it, I do feel that MLS owners have to be very much applauded for that. I think Kevin needs to be very much applauded for thinking out of the box and creative thinking and bringing in this money. We know John Herdman made calls. We know John Herdman brought in money. That is not something a head coach should be doing. A head coach should be concentrating on his team. This is why there are executives at the governing body. And it's great that we've got this changing of the guard and we've got people coming in that are doing a fantastic job, it appears, from behind the scenes. And hopefully we can get him on the podcast at some point just to chat about stuff. He said he's very open to such things, so we'll reach out down the line. That I all like. The name I'll never like, but if that's what I have to live with for this donation to come in, so be it. I'll get over my old-fashioned grumpy bastard ways and move on in that regard. So, I mean, this is all good. And if people are now willing to invest into Canada soccer and reduce this deficit, it feels for the first time in a long time that not only are we moving in the right direction, we're actually all pulling together and moving in the right direction, as opposed to some folk going in the right direction and then some folk rowing in the other direction and we're getting nowhere. And I think that in all this is very pleasing. Putting aside that whether you think Marsh is the right man for the job, everything that's going on behind the scenes and everything we're hearing fills you with a lot of confidence for the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, as for Marsh, I'm happy with the appointment. I think it's a good appointment. There are obviously questions, And like none of us that are talking about this know whether this is going to be the right man for the job until we see what his teams are like. And I don't even think Copa is a good gauge of that. These friendlies aren't necessarily a good gauge of that either, because you're playing high-class opposition and he's never had a chance to have the team together. It's more going to be how this team looks come the end of this year into next year, the Nation League qualifiers, any other friendlies that we've got then, because you've got to remember we don't have a World Cup qualifying campaign. So it's all a lot of things like Nations League or friendlies. I like what he's achieved. I like his playing style. The big debate is how much does his coaching style suit the Canadian players? How much does his coaching style at club level suit what you can do at international level? And the big question for me, which is one of the things I want to ask him if I got to ask during the press conference, which I think Alex Ganguruzic did touch a little bit on with his question, and he did answer this a little bit, is he's used to day-to-day running and he's just itching to go. He said that he's got to wait 3 weeks before he can really get started. But it's a big difference having your day-to-day running, having these players day in, day out, and what he's now going to face.
Yeah. I mean, but again, he's had experience with that as an assistant coach for the U.S. men's national team, right?
Yeah.
So he, obviously that was before this, his role in the club game, right? So he's had these many years away from it.
He said he took time just in general for this appointment to make sure that his next position was one that he felt a connection with and some symmetry.
I kind of like that. I kind of like how he's like, look, I don't need to work. I'm choosing where to work.
Much like yourself.
Because whatever. Because I want to, because I love the game. I want to be involved in the game. And this opportunity excites me. And the potential there is huge. I think he's talked too about, the players in this squad. There's so much potential. And I think, like you would expect from anyone coming into this role, is very excited to see how much of that potential they can actually unlock.
Because it hasn't been. Because everyone's been going on about the golden generation. And as we've said all along, you're only the golden generation when you actually do something.
Yeah, but and I think we've said this in the past, Michael, you got to look at the context.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, this is the best Canadian. Well, we can't say that because I don't know how we can compare this to the 80s.
Yeah, or the 2000 Gold Cup side.
Yeah, even the 70s, there was some really good Canadian talent that were coming through, but they didn't have the infrastructure there to maybe fully develop them.
But here's the one thing you can compare it to, is that World Cup qualification. I think that's why there will be you can consider them a golden generation in Canadian football, because then it also leads into being in back-to-back World Cups, which now under the system looks like it's going to be hard not to be in the World Cup.
Yeah, Scotland will find a way, but yeah.
Yeah, they reached a certain level under Herdman, and now there looks to be a new voice who's looking to see, can they go further? And so let's see what Jesse Marsh can do.
There's been mixed reaction to it, and some of the negativity I just haven't understood. It's like, I'm not sure who people were expecting to get this job.
Yeah.
And like where the money was coming from to pay a big name. Like, I know he was mentioned Jose Mourinho and stuff. Where was that money coming from? That would be more than a 1.5 million charity donation to get someone like Jose Mourinho in the role. But my only thing, my personal thing is, I would have preferred somebody that has managed at international level.
Yeah, full first team, not assistant. Yeah.
But if you weren't getting that,
that's a valid criticism.
Yeah. If you weren't getting that from the other candidates, Jesse Marsh, but there were some other good candidates that had managed at international level, but some of them, as we talked about in the previous show, their best days at international level were kind of in the past.
Yeah.
And the international game has moved on a little bit. Has it moved on beyond what Jesse Marsh likes to try and play? He likes to play a pressing game where they're pressing from the front. He likes to win the ball back in the opposition half. As close to goal as possible. And Canada certainly have the players to do that.
Yeah.
But that's a bit of a change from what they've been playing.
The other thing is, I think he's personable enough. Like he, one of my big gripes this year with Bayern Munich and what happened with Thomas Tuchel is he is from my understanding or the reports, the different people you listen to who are closer to the situation, is he doesn't know how to manage. He doesn't know how to have good relationships with the players. I'm not talking being their buddy and whatever, but just like, yeah, not dealing with players well. And so the one thing I think is a positive for Jesse Marsch is I think he is personable, and I think he will be able to sit down and have those hard conversations, but also those, put the arm around the shoulder and say, hey, like, this is what we're trying to do. This is what we need you to do. This is the role we need you to play, and to inspire players to do that. So I do. Yeah, and you totally see why he's excited, because I think there are players currently in the Canadian squad, and maybe some who will come into it as well, who can play the type of football, at least similar to the type of football that he's played in the past, that would make him want to take this job.
Yeah, I mean, when he was with Leeds, he liked a 4-2-3-1, and he liked the width from the fullbacks. And we've got pace in that position, whether it's Fonzie in a fullback role or what. That's going to be interesting to see how he deploys Fonzie. One of the questions,
I mean, the Fonzie question is a huge question.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the last 4 years of Canadian football, some of the best performances of that squad have been when Alfonso was not there. So one of the things that Jesse Marsch is going to figure out is how do you get the best of Alfonso Davies while also getting the best out of the other 10 players at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. And that is a positional thing. That is a role within the team. I think whether it was from Herdman or it was like directly from Herdman, or it was a license to be free taken by Alfonso for Canada, it looked like it did not help the team sometimes. And it looked like he needed to have a more defined role and just excel in that defined role, as opposed to trying to do too much like he did very, very often.
Yeah. I mean, there's no point going too much into what he might do, what he might not do, until we see it on the pitch. It's like, it's all pure speculation by every single person talking about this just now. And it's like, he needs to get the group together. He needs to sit down with him. He's already had some phone meetings, but getting them together and
that was another good thing. They had a Zoom call before they did the announcement. He's like, hey, they were like, I assume this is Kevin B's partly role in this, but probably Jesse M's as well, of saying, hey, I want the players need to hear this from us, from me, from you, Kevin, that I'm the new coach, before they hear about it in a press release or see it on social media or whatever. So kudos for them for making sure that they kind of got their ducks in a row and did that in, like, again, a good relational way, right?
And like, there's a lot to like about everything that's happened, how this has played out. There is a lot of questions to ask. It's okay to ask questions about it.
Yeah.
It's like, just let's see how this plays out. Because right now, everyone has no idea how good or bad this appointment is going to be. And I genuinely don't think Copa is necessarily the best way to judge that. His first competitive game in charge is against the world champions and Messi. So it's like, I think,
and his first two
let's not hit the panic. Oh, your first two friendlies are like France and Holland. Yeah. So let's not push any panic buttons too early. Let's give him a chance to settle in. And most importantly, let's just all keep being on the same page and pulling in the same direction.
For real.
So that's it for the Canadian national team chat. We'll round off the football chat for the show by turning our attention to the domestic game again in Canada. And it was a long weekend of action in the CPL, but I only want to talk about one game just to round things off, Zach, and I'm sure you do too. Vancouver FC went to Hamilton, got their first away victory of the season, dispatching Forge 2-1, and a deserved victory as well, not only steadying the ship, but instilling a little bit of swagger and confidence back, I think, amongst the team, the players, and the fan base as well.
Just to give a little bit of context to this, Michael, in the inaugural season for Vancouver FC, they had 3 away wins, 2 away draws, and I believe 9 defeats in the league. This year, obviously, we're 0-2 in the league going into this game, and both their Voyageurs Cup matches, Canadian Championship matches, were both away from home and were both defeats as well. So the road has not been an easy place. That's
No.
normal in football. That's normal in Canada, where such the large distance of travel.
Yeah, it's tough here.
This also was the first victory in Forge. One of their draws last year was a goalless draw early in the spring last year against Forge, which was a hugely encouraging thing at that time. And then followed up by, I believe, a 2-0 defeat. But no, this game, there was lots of things that were helpful to make this possible, right? Like you had Caden Chung returning. We talked about how significant a player he is for this side, both defensively and offensively, playing in the right back role. He is a leader from there, and he is someone who is has a talent level that is in the upper echelon of this league. I think it's fair to say. You had injuries, so it meant that Rocco was back from illness. David Norman was still out, so Alan Enu played his second game.
I'm liking what I've seen from him.
I'm liking what I think you can see why they signed him, right?
I can.
He wasn't in the preseason.
I was annoyed at the time that it wasn't someone like Danilo Shmachenko, as I said to you, but you can see why they signed him.
Yeah, so he wasn't in the preseason because of visa issues. And so they were able to get them sorted like almost at the perfect time.
A Vancouver club having visa issues?
Ongoing visa issues. So he stepped in, I think played a wonderful role in the team. And then you had the continues, and who's at left back? Oh, G continues to dominate the left back role. You had Fry partnering Raynan in the middle, which has been just great all year.
Yeah, I like the two of them together.
You had Diaz, was it Diaz? No, Diaz and Dyer up top like normal, and then you had Gabby and Mickey getting his first start.
Yeah.
Which was also really great because Mickey is a quality player, and it's good to have Gabby back. But no, it opened like you talk about, we were talking about games earlier, and when you don't take your chances early, you rue that, right? You really, it frustrates you later on in the game. This was the exact opposite, right? A good free kick opportunity. Is it Kalongo? Is that how you say his name? The keeper from...
That's how I would say it. So yeah. I don't necessarily go with that.
He makes a save, and on the second phase, a cross is put over from Chung on the right side. A nice cross from Chung, finds Dyer at the back post. He heads it, instead of trying to get a header on goal, heads it back across goal, and Rocco, who is up for the free kick, is there and unmarked, and right foots it in. Wonderful.
And you expect him to be going with his head, not a little volley.
Well, that's the thing. He has 2 goals this year, and they're both with his feet.
Yeah.
I think
his first ever goals as well for Vancouver.
Yes, and Afshin is supposedly Afshin has promised him like a steak dinner for when he scores, but he said no, it only counts if you score with your head, Rocco. Something like that. Rocco was talking about that this week on one of the calls.
It's that kind of humor that's going to get him a move to Australia.
There you go. But then Vancouver FC kind of continues to press forward, wins a corner, and then you have Vasco Fry, left-footed Vasco Fry, take the corner on the right side, and he said in the post-match press conference, "Yeah, Vanny told me." No, sorry, Vanny. Oh man.
Oh, it's like Vanny coaching now.
Afshin told me that we need to get balls in on this keeper. Like we need to put him under pressure. And so he's like, that's what I was trying to do. Because I think Mitch or someone had asked him, like, were you really trying to do that? And he was like, yeah, well, I was in the sense that I was trying to put it in on him, kind of close to him. Yeah. And so
his next attempt, though, didn't work out quite as well.
No, yeah, he was trying a little bit too hard on that one. But anyways, he puts in this ball. It goes over the keeper, off the far post, bounce back, hits the other post, and into the roof of the net. It was a marvelous Olympico. I don't know if you know this. Obviously, you know that Christian Borges scored the CPL winning goal from an Olympico.
Yeah, I know there's been 3 at that stadium. I know there's been 6 in the league. It's all I've seen on social media. Yeah, and great. I've got a question to you about that.
Is that good or a bad sign?
Yeah, about the defending and goalkeeping in the Canadian Premier League.
Well, it does. Like I asked Bobby after the game. I think it is a valid question when you see things like to say, should sides be adjusting on corners to use old school traditional methods of having players on posts, right?
I genuinely don't know why that has stopped being a thing.
if they had I know you wouldn't typically use this kind of player, but if they had, let's say, Rocco Romeo, or maybe like last year Mankey or James, on that back post, I think he heads that away.
Mm-hmm.
I might be wrong, height wise or
Oh,
whatever.
actually, I don't know. That was really high up.
It was high, yeah.
That would have been tough to head away.
But
But
anyway,
I do think the keeper was flapping a bit at it, though.
yes, that is very true. And I mean, the Carducci one in the final last year, or last year,
Oh,
2 years
yeah.
ago,
No, that was last year.
last year. So that one,
That was a heartbreaking one.
that was the wind, I think, played a significant
Yeah.
helper in that one. Not that it didn't necessarily play a role in this one either, but anyways, Forge fought back. Forge gets a goal. Vancouver holds on. Vancouver played really well. I thought Action did really well with his substitutions. I thought the subs worked really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a great away victory. And I'm really, happy for Vancouver FC, for Action, for the players. But I'm also like, I'm going to the next Forge away match, and I hope they can repeat this, as opposed to this making Forge mad and then trying to hammer them in the next game.
For me, a couple of big things that come out of this. One was holding on to that lead.
Yeah.
Because as soon as Forge pulled one back, I was like, oh, they're going to give this up, aren't they? And I could easily have seen Forge run out 3-2 winners.
And the goal they gave up was one of those lapses. And Felipe was asked about this as well. It was kind of a mental lapse where you allow Christian Borges to kind of be alone and get played through, and then he easily cuts it back for Becker to score their goal, right? So it wasn't a perfect game, but obviously it was a confidence boosting game for the side.
Well, that was the other big aspect of this. So last week, you take a point against Ottawa, who's leading the way and looks the team in the early part of this season. Mm-hmm. You've now gone to the champions and won at the champions, leapfrogging them in the table in the process. And now you've got a BC Derby coming up this weekend.
Yeah, and Pacific is coming in potentially very hobbled, and with that Ottawa game on their mind.
Well, yeah, only thing we'll say about the Pacific game is they lost 3 players to injury in the first 35 minutes or something like that of the game.
Well, this is the subs were all made in the first 36 minutes. Here's the crazy thing, though, when you look at that game, right? Is I can't remember who goes down first, but anyway, someone
we're doing the baseball up in Castillo.
Oh, and the new signing Endome goes down, I think, first, and then. Adejanai Reed goes down second, right? So you're down 2 players. You had 2 subs. Now remember, you only have 3 sub windows to make your 5 subs. So then Sean Young goes down, and you can tell, you're like, oh man, he is not in a good way. The way he's getting up and the way he's hobbling to the bench. So that was around between the 30th and the 35th minute mark, roughly. And you could tell. I think that James Merriman was just like, look, I don't want to burn my third one. Let's see if we can maybe get to the half and make it at the half, so we have one more window later in the game.
Which is understandable to try and do that.
But then they concede the goal to Del Campo.
Their first league goal of the season, spoiling my TSS chat about being the only team to score against them. But yeah.
And so they were up a man, but it was a really well taken goal from Del Campo. Ball into the box from the left, chested down, smashed it in off the far post. Really nice goal. I think that's 6 goals in 9 games for him now. He's in really good form for Atletico. But that was the game. That was literally the game. It was very huge for Ottawa. Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing I'll say is I think Vancouver was fortunate that they had the first game against Ottawa after traveling, as opposed to the second game, because Ottawa got to stay in the Lower Mainland. They got to stay on the West Coast and acclimatize and not deal with jet lag or anything like that for the second game. Not jet lag is that crazy with 3 hours, but you know what I mean. Time.
No, it can take its toll though, because you're eating out at different times and stuff.
Yeah. So, anyways, going into that Pacific game, they don't have Rian Moore, right? Because of the red card.
Yes, 3 game suspension.
Yeah, because I guess they felt he really hit him.
Yeah,
harder than you and I thought. So he's out, and then I don't know what the status is of any of these 3 players, and there were other guys who I think have been dealing with injury situations. So. Going into this week, it's going to be really interesting to see who Pacific brings. and how James approaches that match, which is, on paper a big game, emotionally for the fans is a big game, and then it's going into this very massive game against Ottawa in the Canadian Championship.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy couple of days for them. I watched bits of the game, then watched the highlights and stuff off it as well. It was an interesting performance by Pacific. I'm looking forward to seeing how this one goes at the weekend. I probably won't be at it because of the Whitecaps Miami game in the afternoon and potential traffic. Because one thing we didn't mention, we're talking about that, is if the Canucks go through, it could be that the Canucks are also playing on Saturday night downtown, which is just going to be chaos.
Yeah.
The
parking will be chaos. The public transit will be chaos.
Yeah, good luck getting out of that if everyone's leaving at the same time.
You should just walk from your house.
Well, I'll park at my usual spot at work and I can walk over the bridge. So at least I've got that. It was nice to see Christian Greco-Taylor getting some minutes as well for Pacific. So
he came on for Endome, and then Jeunesse went to center back and he played left back.
Yeah. So it was nice to see that. A lot of time for Christian. Came through the Whitecaps system as well. So hopefully he can get a bit of time with Pacific. But yeah, should be a good BC derby. If you're not going to the Messi game, or even if you are, and you think you can get down the highway in time for that kickoff, it could be tight. Head along to Willoughby. It's just assume it's a 3 o'clock kickoff. If they made it 2 o'clock, I think they'd have got a way better crowd in.
Just for clarity, I believe that's a facility issue.
Okay.
I don't think that's a Vancouver FC choice.
Yeah, because I would have thought they would have been pushing for an earlier kickoff, or even a Sunday game as well. But I know Sunday wasn't available to them.
All I can say, Michael, is there were a lot of options looked at to try and get out of this, because you'll notice I think this might be like the only Saturday game in the season at LEC.
Jeez. Anyway, that is it for the football chat pretty much. It's obviously not it for the show. We're going to finish with this episode's wavelength. And mentioned it right off the start 5 hours ago that Zach and me spent Friday evening far apart, but watching the A-League semi-final between Wellington Phoenix and Melbourne Victory, second leg in Wellington. Wellington Phoenix have had a fantastic season, just missed out, finishing first in the standings. 0-0 after the first leg, and this was some game. Wellington absolutely robbed with a clear-cut penalty in the first half. I still do not know how that was not given as a penalty, as the guy was pulled back from behind as he went to take a shot. But ended up going into extra time. Melbourne Victory came away with the victory, and it's all over for Wellington Phoenix, but a great season for them. And I know you've not really seen much of the A-League, or any of the A-League, I'm not sure, but you seem to enjoy this one.
It was very Michael McCall football.
Yes, very physical.
Scottish football, very frenetic, very feisty challenges. But yeah, it was enjoyable to watch.
And all the games are free on YouTube, so the grand final will be coming up as well.
I will say that if we weren't messaging the game, I probably would have fallen asleep.
Yes. I could not believe that I saw, I went to bed at 2:30. I'm not sure when you went to bed. And then I saw a message on social media from you at 7:30, and I was like, whoa.
Well, I'll get to that in my car.
But anyway, in honour of Wellington's fantastic season, I thought I would play a song that was written in 2023. They wanted to have a kind of anthem, but not just your crappy football anthem that you get blaring out at games. So a 4-piece band from Te Whanaganui Atara called Number 8 Wireless wrote the Wellington Phoenix anthem. This is Phoenix Rising.
I feel it burn inside of me, something coming alive in me. I feel it starting to rise in me, Phoenix. In blackened ashes spread your wings, flames of yellow in the winds upon the skies of Wellington, Phoenix. That fever pitch should call me home. A sweet water from her gates. I follow where the winds are blowing. I'll ride the waves across the strait. I'll do the mahi required of me to feed the ahi inside of me, to stand and sing with pride to be Phoenix. I feel it burn inside of me, something coming alive of me. I feel it starting to rise in me, Phoenix. That fever pitch should call me home. A sweet water from her gates. I follow where the winds are blowing. I ride the waves across the strait. P-H-O-E-N-I-X. P-H-O-E-N-I-X. Come on, Phoenix. P-H-O-E-N-I-X. P-H-O-E-N-I-X. Come on, Phoenix. That fever pitch should call me home. A sweet water from her gates. I follow where the winds are blowing. I ride the waves across the strait. P-H-O-E-N-I-X. P-H-O-E-N-I-X. Come on, Phoenix. P-H-O-E-N-I-X. P-H-O-E-N-I-X. Come on, Phoenix. That fever pitch should call me home. A sweet water from her gates. I follow where the winds are blowing. I ride the waves across the strait.
Number 8 Wireless there with the Wellington Phoenix anthem, Phoenix Rising. Fantastic A-League season. Still hope to get hold of a Wellington Phoenix kit at some point. They ship it though by DHL, which gets hit by huge custom fees here in Canada. So at some point I will get hold of a Wellington Phoenix top. That is pretty much it though for the show. Before we go, it's time for the German section. We'll try and keep this brief so we can get this under 3 hours. I don't have to cut it out. Zach, what has been catching your eye this week? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, just you can find me on X at Zachary AM, occasionally tweeting there or posting there. Sorry. No, yeah, I just want to say it was fun to watch Goal Arena this week. All 9 games happening at once. I really sad that they stopped doing the second to like the penultimate week as well. I think they should go back to that. But it was good. It was really good to take that in. Also, really happy to see the end of the Thomas Tuchel era at Bayern Munich. He went for 1 for 7 in trophies, and that was only because Dortmund can't play Mainz at the end of the year and get a victory. Yeah, I'm really happy to see the back of him, and even though it might mean we have, no one knows who. I don't know who's going to be the coach now. No, and it might be someone who's maybe not as high caliber as we normally would expect at Bayern, but no, I don't think. Oh, I don't think so. But as long as it's someone who again can treat players well and like understand the role, the relationship you need to have, I think I'll be more happy than what I saw from Thomas Tuchel and the way he alienated players and the way it appeared, at least on the outside, that he tried to deteriorate like the leadership group from the outside,
and make bizarre substitutions in Champions League semi-finals.
Yeah,
I won't bring that hell back to you.
Yeah. Anyways, he's gone. I do want to give a shout out to our good friend Ian McHugh, who does also enjoys the Bundesliga and is a Werder Bremen supporter. It was really cool this week before their final league match. Werder Bremen chose to do a thing where they did a giant choreo, a giant march to the match, where like everyone did a march to the match together. And the focus of this, Michael, was the 20th anniversary of their 2004 season. Now, do you know what Werder Bremen did in 2004?
Invaded Poland?
I shouldn't be surprised you said. No, they were semi-finalists in the Intertoto Cup.
Oh.
No, but in addition to that, they got better later on in the season, and they went on and actually did the double. They won the league and cup double.
Oh.
And can you name anyone from that squad, Michael?
Adolf.
No. Stop. Quick while you're behind. No, there's one person you should be able to name from it because
Axel Schuster.
He's the first Canadian international, not Canadian.
Oh, Rob Friend.
No.
Paul
Stelteri was in that side playing both left and right, kind of fullback. I think
at the same time. That's an interesting tactic.
He was that good. But anyways, so shout out to Ian and his Werder Bremen friends for that. And then they also they won that game, right, Kirk? Werder Bremen won this weekend, right? Yeah. They crushed Bochum, right? Yeah,
Kirk's still up at 1:51 in the morning.
There's no school tomorrow, and he's
that's true.
He's playing EAFC right now.
Oh, sorry for the language.
It's okay. He appreciates Stefan Kuntz as a footballer.
I mean, we've all been distracted by Kuntz in our years.
Stelteri was a huge part of that season for them.
Good old Werder Bremen. I can't even speak it at this time of the morning. I just want to say, like, we never mentioned this in the MLS chat, but I was watching the MLS 360 as I did mention.
Oh yeah.
I like the concept of it. I like the idea of it. I think it's great that you can see all the things happening. There's some things I really need to tweak, and you don't get this because you listen to it with the sound down a lot of the time.
Yeah, most of the time I do.
Yeah. Which is why when I said, "Oh, did you see that chance?" and you're like, "No, I think they're showing different games for me." It's because you hadn't the sound up, and you obviously had just looked away for a second or something.
Must have been because there's 3 times you said this happened.
Yeah.
I was like, I had it on. Like I was like, I never saw the stuff you were talking about at all.
But I don't know. Maybe Kalen Kyle's just putting special stuff into my TV for me. Who can say? But they need to stop being so excited. Kevin Egan, he's a good host. He's got the personality. Let people finish what they're saying. You don't need to immediately go to a game where there's been a goal. It's already happened. Yeah. Just don't go to it. Don't update the graphics. I don't like that they say goal alert when they cut to a game because you know what's going to happen and the team with the ball is probably going to score. Just say, oh, let's just go to this game now. And just calm down the excitement. It's just like, oh, there's a goal at this game. It's week 8 or 9 of the season. Save that for week 33, 34.
Yeah. Goal Arena does it really well. Can I say one other thing about Werder Bremen? I just
Sure.
realized I'm looking up their season. They had a player that year in Werder Bremen 2, a central midfielder who would go on to play for the national team and play down in the Ruhr Valley area in the Bundesliga. And there's a guy named Simon Rolfes. Do you know Simon Rolfes?
No.
Simon Rolfes is now
Simon.
It's like in English you'd say Simon, but it's Simon Rolfes. That's a hard name to swallow. He never actually played first team football for Werder Bremen. He played all or most of his Bundesliga games for the Aspirin Company's team Bayer Leverkusen, where he is now the managing director of sport, and he's the one responsible for putting together Leverkusen. And we can't end this show without talking about how Leverkusen did complete the undefeated season in the Bundesliga and has 2 cup finals left to see if they can have a completely undefeated season, winning a treble, which would be absolutely crazy. And they're obviously odds-on favorite in the cup because they're playing second division Kaiserslautern, who finished near the bottom of the table. And then who are they playing in the? Is it Atalanta? It's Atalanta, right? Yeah, Kirk's giving me the nod. It's Atalanta. Atalanta. So a more formidable opponent in that, but yeah, a crazy season. And because of Thomas Tuchel, I forgot to mention Bayern came third.
Really?
Yeah.
Who was second?
Stuttgart. Oh, also, I forgot to mention that on potentially his last ever game for Bayern, not just his last Champions League game for Bayern, but potentially his last league game for Bayern, a young man named Alphonso Davies scored a goal playing left wing. He was left wing, right? Or was he left back? No, I can't remember if he just pushed up. But anyways, he scored a really nice goal. Not as good as his Champions League goal, but
let's hope he gets sold to Real Madrid this summer so that there can be more philanthropic donations from the Whitecaps to the Canadian national team. Otherwise, the money might dry up a little bit. That is it for the show. I think I'll mark in the rundown for this goodbyes and German nonsense. But we will be back with another episode soon. I've been Michael McCall. He's been Chuck E. Cheese AFTN co-host Zachary Adam Eisenheimer. We'll be back with another episode soon. Until then, thanks for listening. Take care. Be nice to each other. And mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.